North-South Connection, Wrestling Warzone, Patreons. Welcome to Wrestling Warzone, a Monday Awards podcast retrospective series. I'm JT. Joining me as ever in the big chair to my right is Chad, and we are going through the history of the Monday Night Wars here in a simulcast podcast audio on most podcast applications, except for those NWOC teams at Spotify, and on video on our YouTube channel under North-South Connection, and that's the also the link for audio is North-South Connection. And then Chad, you and I also have an absolutely free Patreon under Wrestling Warzone. You can subscribe there. It is free. We don't ask for anything to get all of the perks. And to do that, you just go to the link. If you're watching here, you can go to the link and see it. Patreon.com/The Wrestling Warzone. The biggest perk you get is you can watch while we record live, and you can weigh in with comments and thoughts, and we'll read them on air, and you can kind of get an early drop that way. We usually record a couple weeks ahead, so you kind of get in on the early end, and you can watch us do it and weigh in. We also have some content here and there, bonus stuff. You know, Chad drops stuff now and then when he's feeling froggy. And then as we move deeper into the Attitude Era, you never know. We may have one or two things pop up here because there's so many different shows. This B and C shows start popping up here that we may want to hit on. You know, Chad might want to do a review of Shutter Speed at some point. So be sure to check all that out. North-South Connection and Wrestling Warzone Patreon. Chad, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. We got a big night here in the War Zone with a meaty 3-hour Nitro that's running unopposed, and then the go home to Ground Zero, which we'll get to.
Go home closing time is more likely, given what time this thing aired. Yeah, we are another split week. It's our last split week. So we have the September 1st, 97 Nitro and the September 5th, 97 Friday night's main event. If you were with us last episode, we did the first installment of Friday night's main event. This is the second one. We'll talk about it, but it was recorded the same night, and you can very much tell that it was a late night recording following the first one. So we'll cover that. And yes, of course, Raw was preempted due to the U.S. Open going into Ground Zero. So we'll cover all that, Chad. But why don't we start over on Nitro, and why don't you fire things up for us?
Yeah, this also kind of serves as the unofficial 2-year anniversary of when we started the pod, too.
Oh, yeah,
so
true.
We made it 2 calendar years, so good for us. But yeah,
September, the second Nitro we started with, it was 9/11.
Correct. Yeah. So this is the Nitro from September 1st, 1997. It's in Pensacola, Florida. But we start with a really cool video package. It's on Arn Anderson, kind of has a lot of like classic clips from the 80s and 90s, the real like golden years of the Horsemen, and has the voiceover and basically really presents him as a legend in this company, and they kind of show him as a technician that used the ring throughout. The voiceover says that. And we end with learning that tonight's program is dedicated to Arn Anderson. So I thought this was a really cool touch. Really good video, really. Up there with probably some of the best like production video packages they've done this year, in my opinion. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I mean, Arn's a guy obviously they have a ton of footage of that they can dig deep on, and I think it was a shrewd way to, and we'll see the recap of it and stuff. So, but it was a shrewd way to like keep last week's vibes flowing for what's to come tonight, right? Because it makes you get more in the Arn nostalgic mode and kind of feeling wispy for him a bit, and so I think that helps with where we're headed.
Right. So the pyro goes off. Tony leads us in. As you mentioned, we get the whole segment last week. So that's one thing I'll say with this show is like it's 3 hours, and on one hand, it's like there's a lot that happens on this show, and they do with 3 hours have time to kind of let everything breathe. It's an interesting dynamic. So with what happens on this show, I didn't mind like this long recap, and because that was such a memorable segment last week. But on a 2-hour show, you might want to use that real estate for something else, because it did. We were 10 minutes in when the opening bell rang of the opening tag match here, which is Jeff Jarrett and Eddie Guerrero versus the Horsemen. Mongo, baby. And
baby. Do you think, just real quick on that 3-hour piece, like were they counter programming? Because it feels like we're ramping up now. I know we've done a couple of these so far with the 3 hour, but it feels like since Raw shifted, is like when they're really going all in on leaking into that third. Because remember, Raw now is Nitro's unopposed hour 1, head to head hour 2, Raw's unopposed hour 3. It feels like it does feel like in these next few we're dragging things out, to your point, to like spill over to counter a bunch of Raw. Now tonight there's no Raw, so I guess this is more maybe just trying to capture people, but like going forward we'll see it now a bit, and it feels like they're doing it purposely because some of the stuff does feel dragged out. Like it could easily be tightened up to 2 hours.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a few things. Counter programming against the new Raw time slot's probably part of that pie, but I do think their ratings have been so successful that like Turner's given them much more of a leash. Although this is a funny, and we hadn't heard as much lately, but like a year or two ago, the Big Bang Theory, how much that affected like the lead in for AEW Dynamite or whatever.
Yeah.
So before this show, before this Nitro, the movie Overboard let it in, and it had like a 4.8 rating or something. Like the Dave and the Observer talked about it. So like a shockingly high rating for they got the Overboard bump with the opening.
And that was it's not like that was a new movie just out. Like
no, random, I don't know.
Because that was what, 80s, I think?
Yeah. So just a weird kind of
87. Yeah, that's people, was it like,
and it had to
did
come
Turner
on
remaster
like
it or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it had to come on at like 5 or 6, I would guess, maybe 6 to 8 or something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
Very, very strange. But yeah, anyway, a really cool, I think, tag match to open us up here. Flair and Hennig are out with the Horseman group, so they're showing like a unified front here. Jarrett takes the U.S. title and taunts Mongo on the outside. Benoit and Guerrero start things off, and this is a real kind of intense match. It turns into a fight pretty quickly. Some huge European uppercuts from Eddie and chops. Jarrett gets tagged in, but gets chopped down as we head to our first commercial break. Back from break, we see Eddie's doing push-ups, taunting Benoit, just being a typical prick he's been the last few months. The Hills take advantage of Benoit, work him over. Thought the hope spot off the Rana reversal of Eddie looked really good, but Eddie's able to maintain control. Tony on commentary lets us know that Hulk Hogan's in the building tonight, that Alex Wright's going to defend the TV title, and then our big TV main event is Lex Luger and Diamond Dallas Page versus Scott Hall and Randy Savage. Jarrett gets too close to Mongo's corner at one point and gets clotheslined. We get a back suplex from Eddie, but he goes to the top and Mongo grabs his foot. Benoit does that nasty superplex that he floats over on, lands right on his neck. Tenay lets us know that for WarGames, we got 3 WCW members, and it's Lex Luger, Diamond Dallas Page, and Ric Flair. So there you go. They're announcing them
right out of the gate,
WCW. Mongo's finally able to get the hot tag. He's does a pretty good House of Fire in the beginning, but there's a little bit of a weird miscommunication spot where Mongo kind of grabbed Jarrett for sidewalk slam and just held him there for a moment. So I don't know what was going on with that. But while that happens, Benoit like power slams Eddie, and then does like the gorilla press slam warrior style and crotches Eddie on the ropes in a nasty spot. But Eddie is able to grab Benoit right as Jeff Jarrett clips Mongo. Eddie suplexes Benoit to the floor, another nasty looking spot. Jarrett locks on the figure 4, and Deborah's on the apron. Eddie's climbing up for the frog splash. But out comes Dean Malenko. He shoves Eddie off and then hits a frog splash of his own on top of Jeff Jarrett. Mongo covers him. They pick up the win. Crowd erupted at that finish. Very good tag match. This was probably one of my favorite TV matches that we've seen in the last little bit here, the last couple of weeks. Very intense action through all 4. Mongo, as we talked about, he has some limitations, has that one miscommunication spot, but he's over. He's trying. I typically like Jarrett a good bit, and he's in a good role now. And Benoit and Eddie. So I went 3 1/4 here. Very good opener.
Yeah, it was pretty hot. I like the Fall Brawl stuff, getting that out of the way as well. We found out Eddie's got the cruiserweight title shot at Fall Brawl, so that's nailed down. And then we get the announcement on the team. You and I have kind of been wondering where they're going and how they get to where they get, so we'll see. But as of now, Page, Luger, and who's a Flair, right? It was announced so far.
Page, Luger, and Flair's the 3 they announced on.
And you could assume Henig's probably in the mix, right, for that 4th spot, given how
and it's interesting too. You do get some commentary from Larry and saying like, if I was WCW, I wouldn't have necessarily showed my hand and announced Like NWO's announced nobody, so why are we putting out these are our 3 guys here? I would think you would think either Giant or Hennig's probably going to be the 4th person at this point.
And I think too, again, they're not going into the minutia this low. But if Larry said that, they could just say, well, WCW profits off these shows. We want to sell the show. I don't know. Like there is a way to say why they would announce. You know what I mean? But is what it is. So red hot opener, wild pace. Like the offense was stiff. The crowd was just red hot, like molten.
Yeah.
And I like the revenge by Malenko. And the Horsemen are hot. Like they're cooking. And we talked about it last episode, and we'll talk about it again. Like there's a world where, if they just keep Hennig in this role, I think the Horsemen could have had a rebirth, with this group. Mongo's very over. Benoit's on fire in the ring. Hennig and Flair have been a good 1-2 on top as a team. It could have been a really done version of the Horsemen that have some runs. So it just sucks that it's done for a specific reason, which again I get, but we'll see how it plays out. Did the NWO really need that extra heat, or could the Horsemen have really benefited from it? So I went 3 1/4 as well. This is a great opener.
Yeah, that's one of our first hidden gems, I think, in quite a while. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. As we head to break, we get a lot of kind of quick insert promos.
Yeah,
people giving their well wishes to Arn. A couple of words. Luger sent some well wishes to Arn. I thought it was a good nod that he mentions they've been together, they've been rivals over the years, because they really do have a lot of history together. When he joined the Horsemen in '87, and then obviously, when he left it in December of '87, on down the line.
Yeah, they're more tied together than you would think.
Yeah. And then WCW Saturday Night this week, we get Diamond Dallas Page, Alex Wright, the Giant, Kurt Hennig, and big tag match here: Public Enemy versus High Voltage. So
still raging on that. No pun intended. That feud.
If that's not going to get you to turn in, nothing is. Yeah. So then the NWO music starts up. Savage, Hall, and Liz come out. The announcers talk about how that wasn't on the format. Larry's imploring today and Tony to stay, kind of stand their ground. Hall says, "You don't have to run off." He says, "Happy Labor Day, Picola from the NWO. I can't think of a more fitting holiday than Labor Day to highlight the NWO, because they're the reason everybody is here and watching at home. They are the working man's champion and doing it for the little people like the Zbyszko, who never had nothing going on in their life. They are the guys that want to tell their boss to stick it, and they tell WCW to stick it." Then Savage gets on the microphone and says that Luger and Page are having problems with each other. Larry, he needs to leave before Hall gets real mad. And then says if Page and Luger can quit fighting with each other, they can get their beating tonight, because they are undefeated as a tag team, him and Hall, which is pretty good points, I'd say, from the Macho Man there. Hall says, "Don't worry, they will keep on being too sweet." So pretty, I would say pretty quick and different kind of promo here from the NWO, where they sort of ambushed the announce booth, but I liked it for what it was. It was fine.
It was good. Savage loves laying on that table. He must find it very comfortable. He always extends out on the table.
I thought Liz looked good tonight. She was in those short shorts, like leather shorts. So I took a note of that.
All right. Hall or Savage says, "We'll give you a permanent holiday." Which is good. Larry does get one dig in. He said Hall must be hanging with Hogan because he's got something on his nose. So that he gets one little jab in. But this is good. It sets up the main event. It was tight. But it nudges Larry still as a foil as well. Because we're getting something with Larry at some point. He would have been a fine choice too for the fourth guy, like a Giant, Hennig, or Larry, because you can hide him, and he's got WarGames history.
Should have done a vote. They should have said let the fans vote. You'll find out at the pay-per-view. So next we get Mortis versus Silver King. Pretty interesting little match here. We see the Luchadors and the Vandenberg's teams kind of been going after each other. Now Larry gives a great rant here as they're coming out to the ring, where he talks about how he's out of commission, he's retired. Tony is scared. And then he said, today isn't worth anything diddly physically, which today seemed like a legit annoyed. He was like, well, geez, thanks for the vote of confidence, Larry. So just completely
and Tony's like, if you just smack them once, they'll stop.
Yeah.
But Larry basically says, I'll stretch them, but then I'm at war and that'll ruin my golf game, which he cares about first and foremost.
Yeah, he's talking about, he mentions I guess this was maybe a reference to Lloyd's of London. I don't know. But he says if Hall wants to put up a large amount of money, that might be able to sway him out of retirement.
Yeah, he's basically saying, if you want to pay me, I'll take the money. I'll risk my golf game for some cash. But otherwise,
can't damage the golf game with Larry. That's where he draws the line. So we get a flip by Mortis right away into a big super kick from Silver King. Some spinning back kicks from Mortis, but he misses another, gets tangled up in the ropes. Raph is on the apron, which allows Mortis to do a springboard leg drop to gain the advantage. Tony says that when Hogan's here, the NWO even becomes more cocky than usual. Kind of as they're trying to impress him with their cockiness, I guess. 2 Silver King drop kicks and a big dive to the outside. Mortis does a reverse Russian leg sweep back inside that looked pretty cool. And then he climbs to the second rope and hits that Super Samoan drop, which have they named that? Because the Observer said flatliner. It's not.
I don't know if he says it here. I forget. I have it down as a flatliner, so he may have said it. Today, maybe.
Okay. I thought the flatliner was like that move where he almost like a Uranagi, but maybe this is the flatliner. I don't know. As mentioned before, I'm terrible.
Raph does that Uranagi. That's like the meltdown.
Okay, that may be what I missed.
And then there's the feliner from the cat.
There you go. So 2 1/4 here. I thought this was a solid little TV match for 4 minutes with these guys going after it.
Yeah, and the brawl. You want to talk about the brawl?
Yeah, so Vandenberg basically calls out the Faces of Fear after the match. They come out. We have a pretty big brawl between all 4 men. We learn they have another tag match at Fall Brawl. So, as we mentioned, that Faces of Fear versus Wrath and Mortis feud has been stewing for about a month now. So it's a nice little spot to have them on pay-per-view.
Perfect spot.
It's probably going to be the blow off to all that.
Yeah, this is good. It had some pace and shine. I like the post match, and the Vandenberg Crews continued to be like a nice addition, and working them into the tag division with these other guys and bringing the Lucha dudes in gives them kind of a story. Like I think you always think back to this era of Nitro, and your memory tells you, oh, they just used to throw these guys out in random matches, but they've actually been involved in some different stories. Like you get the Conan thing going, you got Son of Bono and Ultimo Dragon in there with he's got Psychosis and Parka and whoever else in his stable, and then you got some of these guys getting pulled into this world too now with Mortis Wrath and the Faces of Fear. You got they're kind of like in the ancillary. So you have this edge world lower mid card going on here, which is encapsulating all these little things, which I think has been way more fleshed out than you remember. And I'm sure there's probably even more going on Saturday night with all these dudes, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That was pretty entertaining. So it's been a good little section of the card that I've enjoyed. I went 2 1/4 as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of neat wrinkles that happened on Saturday night after this show that I'll mention when we get to it. But there was definitely matches on this upcoming Saturday night that are direct reflection of what happens on this show. So that's cool. Nitro Girls, their first segment, memory of Arn turning on Tustin Rhodes at Bash at the Beach 94. Come back, a kid's holding up a Sting versus Hogan sign, and then they pan to a woman that has a sign that says "I love cheese." I have no idea what that means or what kink or fetish she's into, but there you go. We get clips last
Latest
week
from
of
Green Bay fan, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, they're in Pensacola, Florida. I love cheese. It's
Transplant.
very bizarre. I actually rewinded it to see what are we talking about? So clips from last week with JJ, Bischoff, and BG. That whole segment. Then we get our next match, which is Yuji Nagata versus Dean Malenko. As they're coming out to the ring, they're showing that Chicago and Indy house shows again, as we talked about some big house shows that they keep mentioning coming up in the next week or so. So we'll finally stop hearing about those.
Yeah, I'm about done with
Today,
Chicago. I'm done with Chicago and Indy.
yeah, today gives out the amateur credentials for Nagata, to which Larry then talks about his amateur wrestling days, suckering people in and taking them out with the arm and all this stuff. I mean, this was Larry being Larry on commentary. I don't know. I'll tell you who took great offense to this was one David Meltzer. Because in reading the Observer, he devotes about 3 paragraphs just shitting on Larry, talking about how, Nagata's this amateur champion, blah, blah, blah. And Larry, he knew one of Larry's classmates in Pittsburgh, and, if he had 2 choices in life if you were a good wrestler to get a scholarship or to go train with Bruno, and you could guess which route Larry took. So anyway, he took great offense. So I don't know. But
and we're also edging more and more, I feel like, and it's been a thing on Nitro and even Raw, but I feel like we're edging more and more into the commentators really kind of veering off a lot of these matches and not focusing. And I know it's a heralded thing about Nitro in this era specifically was how little they would pay attention to some of these matches. And I feel like it has been slowly creeping in and getting a little bit worse. So we'll just monitor it, but I've noticed it a little bit more lately. I'll put it that way.
yeah, I mean, I thought tonight did good here, actually bringing up the credentials. It gives good backstory because we really haven't heard
I think
much
they
of
start with
Nagata
that vibe, and then it spirals quick.
Yeah, I mean, Larry can Larry's very narcissistic, so
Right.
it,
But
it,
even
it comes
talking
back to
Hogan
Larry.
and NWO instead, I just feel like we edge away from the match quite a bit.
Right. So this is a very heavy match. The crowd did not seem too impressed with this. But I liked it. So it had one fan in their living room today. Nagata, I thought, got some nice kind of leg work in. Gets a nice leg drag when he goes too close to the ropes. Had a little bit of a shooty UWF vibe. So yeah, I mean, I just like that it was different from the first 2 matches we had. Malenko locks on the arm. As Tony lets us know again, we got 3 hours tonight. Back suplex from Malenko, goes for a big punch, but Nagata catches him in a half and half. And then a receipt from the first match tonight as Deborah and Jeff Jarrett come down. Deborah distracts the referee as Jeff Jarrett comes in and hits the stun gun. And Jarrett then holds down Malenko's legs as well, allowing Nagata to get the win. So again, the crowd wasn't too enthused until the finish. Wasn't the longest match in the world. I didn't think it was great or anything, but I found some of the mat work enjoyable enough. I went 2.5.
Yeah, I went 2 on it. There's some good grappling. The end just kind of came fast, and it was really more about Jarrett Dean than anything else at that point in the match, which is fine. They're building toward their match at Fall Brawl, and they had to get the revenge from earlier. I like Nagata. He'll be around for a while, right? I think is he pretty much straight through from here, or does he disappear and come back again?
Yeah, I think this is his run is around this time, but it's not the longest run in the world, but yeah, we'll get
Isn't he around for a bit?
for
No,
next few months. I don't think he's around much after.
because once he do the whole thing with the dancing and all, isn't that later? Is that 98, 99?
That may be.
He's like
I
him
would
and
think
the
that's
Dancing
this
Fools
run,
and all
but I
that.
would have thought he'd been back in '98, but I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
We'll monitor.
I remember him in the
DDP.
video game. I forget which one, Revenge or whatever. He's in that, like all over that. Anyway, yeah, 2 stars.
Wasn't it we're veering off, but like remember he had like some weird move set where they put him like real short because he was Japanese, right? And then if you were real short, you could do like all these high flying moves. Like they
Yeah,
got
something
him
like
on
that.
the-
I
so
think he was in. I don't remember if it was Revenge or World Tour. I think World Tour was that the first one, and then Revenge. I forget. The
oh
second one was
god.
awesome. I mean, we played the shit out of those in
And I'm
college.
looking, yeah, I mean so I think he has like a little interesting run where he's around for a lot of '97. I knew he was on the January 4th Tokyo Dome show, but that's like a one shot. And then he's
He's around
hanging
for a while,
out.
right?
Yeah, he's here till like looks like in May of '98. So we do get a nice little lengthy run here. Even though it actually does some stuff for CMLL, but it actually extends till July of '98, and then he's done. So it's basically he may be one of the last ones that did that, like that full like New Japan North
Right.
America excursion that where they'd go to Stampede or go to Florida or go to Memphis, whatever, Texas. So he probably is the last one. So that's cool. Um, Dallas Page talking about Art Anderson says the first word that comes to mind is respect, because when he got in the ring, he gave it all. We're on to hour number 2. Get some pyro for that. Nitro girls back out. Tony lets us know that in his Marietta neighborhood, the HOA has said that there's 5 or 6 Nitro parties going on at once on Monday nights. That leads us into our first match of the second hour, which is the Ultimo Dragon versus La Parka. There he is. La Parka has a picture of Sonny Ono putting the Dragon Sleeper, putting the Dragon Sleeper on the Ultimo Dragon. Tony lets us know this was from WCW Saturday Night. Silver King actually took the picture here. We get some quick mat work and a walk-up Rana by the Dragon. He kicks Parker to the outside, then hits his drop kick through the ropes. Parker grabs him on the outside and sidesteps a handspring elbow attempt as Ultimo ends up crashing into the guardrail. Sonny Ono goes for a kick, gets caught. Ultimo's trying to suplex him, but Parker comes through the ropes and drop kicks Ultimo. And then it's just a crazy suicide dive where they both go banging off the guardrail. That looked nasty. Parker dances on the inside. Larry calls it a moonwalk. He's liking La Parka. Belly to belly suplex by La Parka gets 2. Dragon makes his comeback, hits a K-Barada. Parga is able to recover, hit a power slam, some kicks from Dragon. He does the fallaway slam with a bridge. Sonny Ono's on the apron. He kicks Dragon. Parka has the chair, but Dragon's able to see it, turns around, and ends up drop kicking the chair into La Parka's face and winning the match. And then afterwards, Ultimo stalks Sonny Ono, slams him, and finally puts him in the Dragon Sleeper to a big pop. Parka comes in with a chair and runs Ultimo Dragon away. But this is a lot of comeuppance for Mr. Sonny Bono. And this was a fun little match, kind of like I felt like a abbreviated pay-per-view match actually on Nitro here. Is they had like 5 minutes to go out there, really went balls to the wall. Very fun match and big victory for Ultimo, and he's getting a good face reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, he's over.
So I enjoyed this a lot. I went 2 3/4.
Yeah, it was good. We get another call for tapes for the Nitro Party contest. Of course, that's all throughout here. Parka takes the big Chris Hambrick bump early, which is always nasty. The dive slide out to the floor in the back. That always looks good. Yeah, I mean, this is really good. It was a chaotic flow, had some hot action, a good storyline. I thought the picture from Saturday Night was hilarious. I thought it was really well done. And Dragon gets one over on Cinnabono as we go to Fall Brawl. So I went 2 3/4 as well. And who would have thought La Parka would be in the 2026 Royal Rumble?
Yeah. little bit, about 150 pounds skinnier. The
Right now,
current
he is.
LA Park.
Still
For now.
time to rectify that.
They go to break with the 1985 Arn promo with Buddy Landell of all people by his side, and Orange wearing a New York Yankee cap. So there you go. Buff comes out for his match with Glacier. So we get the NWOP team theme, and there you go. Nameplate still says Marcus Bagwell, so they're about a year behind on that. They finally fixed Ultimate Dragon to Ultimo. Now we still have to deal with Marcus Bagwell.
Like, this has to be someone's whole job. Like, how hard is it to fucking fix it?
I don't know. That was really stupid. Today brings up that Glacier's still undefeated in singles competition. So, he lost that tag match last week, but still undefeated here. Buff hilariously mocks Glacier's karate stuff to start out. He's laughing at him doing chops and stuff. Him and Vince are clouding it up here. Glacier's able to gain the advantage, hits him with some round kicks and chops. Bagwell comes back on top. He uses Vincent on the outside to ram Glacier into the apron. He gets a good near fall after a drop kick. Larry keeps harping on Glacier that, he has all the technical prowess, but he needs to get meaner. He's been too nice in the ring. Glacier makes his comeback, hits a back body drop and some front kicks. He goes up the ropes. He misses it. Then we get like an awkward cross body from Glacier that he doesn't get enough distance on. Ends up basically ramming into Bagwell's knees and legs. And I'll give Bagwell credit. He sold his knee for a second as they recovered and figured out what they were going to do. We go to the finish where Vincent's on the apron. Bagwell gets rammed into him. We get some cryotic kicks. Glacier goes for the superplex, but Vincent recovers, holds on to Buff. So Glacier goes flying down into the mat, and then Buff hits the blockbuster for the win. And to end Glacier's undefeated streak in singles competition. So I would say this is kind of good symbolism of where these two guys are right now on the total poll, where Glacier's definitely getting the cool down, no pun intended, from the beginning of the year. And for Buff, somebody that's been in the promotion since 1991, this is probably as high as he's been, as far as notoriety. Oh, yeah. And we talked about it with character working in ring. I think it's the best he's been. So I went 2 1/4 here. This wasn't great. It wasn't offensive.
You think it's better than Stars and Stripes in their 1 week title reign?
Yeah.
Well, he had some weird quick title reigns. He had the Stars and Stripes. I don't know if they won, actually. I think they had it. Him and Scorpio had a quick reign.
Him and Scorpio had it where they won on Saturday night and then lost it on Halloween Havoc the next night. Havoc 93.
I think Stars and Stripes was brief too. And then American Males had it for 2 weeks or something too, didn't they? Randomly or some shit, or a week in there.
I don't know. Stars and Stripes, did they ever win the champion? Yeah, they did 2 times. Good Lord.
So yeah, he's had some weird runs. Glacier scuffling, undefeated record now gone. Him and Miller have taken some losses. Again, the wheels came off for him a lot quicker than I remember them coming off. Yeah. I know he's been around for a while. Blood Runs Cold was before the NWO. So, I mean, he's been around for a while. And it seemed very spaced out. And it seemed like as soon as the Mortis and Wrath heated up, I thought there was more of it. And now it's he's been jobbing to them. It's they fell in love with them over him quickly. And now he's just losing here nothing. So I'm fine with him just being a normal guy and not being presented as some sort of specialty case. But Buff wins a little bit sloppy, but I still went 2 1/4 as well. And I would agree. This is probably the best Buffs overall, both presentation and work has been.
Larry talking about Arn Anderson says every dog has its day and Orange yours came too soon. So there you go. Some nice from the
I remember when I teamed with Arn Anderson.
Yeah, really underrated tag team in my opinion. Tony lets us know this was I kind of wondered how they were going to get back to this guy coming into the picture because we hadn't heard about him in a couple months now. But all of a sudden, Tony lets us know that Roddy Piper wants back into the sport. They do a video package for him. So there we go. They're floating that out there. And today even says that when the ticket sales went on sale for Halloween Havoc in Vegas, everybody was talking about Piper. You know, this was like your Bobby Heenan. Everybody's talking about
the
it.
hot talk of the ticket sales out of nowhere. A guy who hasn't been on for 6 months. Oh, what's up with Piper? Yeah, it's all about Piper in line.
Tony does mention that's where he made his return last year, so I guess they were nostalgic for that. But yeah, there you go. All right, next match, another lucha action match: Liz Martin Jr. versus Viano 4. Today gives us an update on Ray Jr. Says he did go see Dr. James Andrews. It won't require surgery, but he will have a knee brace on. He's scheduled to return the next week or two here. Larry implores him not to come back too early. Says, you know, he gets scared when you hear no surgery, that people try to push themselves, etc., and end up hurting themselves worse. So some pretty decent lucha action back and forth. Again, the crowd isn't too interested in this one. I'd put it up there with the Malenko versus Nagata match. They do stand to their feet and turn around about halfway through the match as we see Raven walking down the ringside. So that wakes up the crowd a little bit. Spin wheel kick from Lismark. Viato kicks Lismark off when he charges in. Viato 4 gets hip tossed to the floor. We get a huge crossbody from Lismark. That allows the Viatos to do the switcheroo. But when Viato 5 now comes in, Lismark's able to hit the Cabrera and actually pin him. Then we had a funny moment where, like, the Viatos, since they know that was the wrong person, so they're telling the referee, like, he pinned the wrong person, even though they were the ones that initiated the switch. A little bit of a confusing finish where it didn't seem like, are they restarting the match? Or are they not? So I don't think the execution was perfect here for what they were going for. It was kind of felt like a little kind of funny finish on a trope here that you'd see with the switching partners. Overall, this was some decent spots, I would say, but pretty generic and quick. So I went 2 stars here.
To me, this is how you know, like, we're just trying to fill time on this show to like eat, like really stretch. And we're getting Lismark and Viano matches. Like, I mean, this is on a night where we've had a bunch of similar matches, which again, they've all pretty much delivered, but you could tell we're like really filling time. The crowd gets distracted quite a bit when they twist around to see Raven. You know, it was all right. It was just kind of weird. The finish was definitely fucked up. The match a little bit sloppy. Raven, that went nowhere. Just kind of derailed things. This to me really felt like padding. I went a star and 3/4.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I will say, like, I don't think Larry and Tony even saw that they switched. Like, today's the one that actually has to mention that, hey, they switched. So there you go. Then we get Gene for the first time on this show. This has to be one of the longest. Like, we're almost an hour and a half in, and we finally get Gene, which not complaining after last week. So he brings out Lex Luger. Luger says, obviously, at this point, and as you can see, him and Diamond Dallas Page are seeing eye to eye. He found that out last week, and he admits that he didn't come out last week when he was asked to because he was upset and ticked off. But then in last week's match, in the heat of the battle, he put Dallas up in the rack. He didn't know it was him. And so he says, we're even. He's sorry. He knows what he's been through the last year, and it's time that themselves and everyone at WCW gets their act together. They have a match on TV tonight. So Dallas, the NWO Foundation, has always been built on smoke screens, lies, and deception. So let's not let them do it to us. He asked Dallas to come out so they can bury the hatchet. Gene brings up, hey, you didn't come out last week when Dallas asked you. So always Gene stirring the pot there. And Dallas does not come out here for Luger. So Lex says, well, who guesses he will get his answer in the ring tonight. So I've actually liked this feud. I haven't, or this kind of storyline, I guess. I didn't remember this, but I've thought everything's been pretty logical so far, not overblown or melodramatic.
No.
And I thought this was a good promo from Luger, somebody that sometimes can struggle a little bit to kind of articulate everything from like A to Z. I thought he navigated things very well here, and everything made sense with what he was saying.
No, it's been a good story, and I think, you know, we had wondered where's that come for Luger off the cliff, coming off the Sturgis and all that? And it's like, I don't know. This is kind of a forgotten angle, I think, for him. We'll see where it plays out and how it goes and what it leads to. But it's kept him interesting, and it's been a good way to keep him away from the world title for the moment. Like trying to get it back, get diverted into this, and you can look at it multiple ways. And one of them turning is it just NWO mind games have driven them apart, and like you said, they've done it in a pretty realistic way. I mean, as realistic as this shit gets, right? Obviously, like we talked about, just go home and watch the show. You can see what's going on, but that's not how the world wrestling works, so that's fine. I think within the construct of the wrestling world, they're doing a good job with it.
Nobody owns a TV in the world of wrestling.
Right.
If you're a wrestler, so
no one watches their own show.
No. An Arn worldwide clip of him attacking Bobby Eaton, WCW Magazine shield, Nitro girls come back out, and then who makes his return but the Disco Inferno? He comes out and starts dancing. Very funny moment from Tony where he asks what
he's like all flustered.
Alex Wright comes out. They do a dance battle. They start shoving each other. Larry gets in probably his best line of the night where he says, "Where is this the Nitro boys?" Like making a fun off the Nitro.
Are you surprised they gave Larry like 2 hours and not Bobby?
I mentioned that later on. Like, there's a lot of Larry, which he was. I liked Larry on the show. He was over. I mean, he was overbearing a lot, but like this line absolutely breaks both Tony and Today. So like they're dying in the booth when he says the Nitro boys.
Did they have anything on Disco? Because we talked about this way back in like April, right? I believe he refused to sell for Jackie. Basically, they told him to hit the bricks. There were rumors he would be Honky Tonk Man's protege, or at least they were trying to get him in. They didn't end up making the deal, but has he just been on the sidelines till now? Has he been on a contract, or was he just?
I think it was like he, from what I recall, he definitely kind of overstated his leverage and just thought like that he would get some sort of nice like offer from WWF, and I don't know if they'd ever offered or if it was lower than what he thought based on their financial situation. But yeah, he kind of just then comes back here. So there you go. But yeah, so it's Alex Wright versus a guy we also hadn't seen in like 3 months, Hugh Morris. So there we go. Wright gets bullied to start, but he's able to use the speed to take over for a bit. Wright works over the leg of Hugh. I will say I think Alex Wright gets some good heat from the crowd, as we mentioned. Like he's getting over his heel on the floor. Morris gets a lariat, and I mean I hate to say it, but this is almost like what I was saying about the Crush tag last week. For guys I despise, I thought Hugh Morris sold his leg very well here. Back inside, Wright gets caught on top and thrown off. Some flurries of clotheslines splash in the corner by Morris. Disco's back out of ringside. He interferes in the match, but Morris punches him and kind of puts him down on the floor. But as Hugh Morris turns around, he gets hit with a spinning heel kick from Alex Wright, and then he uses the ropes for leverage to pin Hugh Morris here. So a decent match. It kind of set up like you got Alex Wright versus Ultimo Dragon at the pay-per-view. It also seems like we got something going on with Alex Wright and Disco Inferno now. So this is kind of like your generic filler TV title match.
Right? It's like they can't decide what they want to do with him, though. Like they have him in the TV title mix. Now, then they had him with Deborah, but now like they got Disco back, and I think they realized, well, the dancing guys is funnier. So like, I'm curious, is Wright done with Deborah? Is he going to do both? Like, it's kind of confusing.
That was confusing. I think that is true. I would say having Disco here, like that is a funny concept, but they just had started really kind of putting together Deborah's stable, which was working. So yeah.
And we know part of it is gone soon. Like, so I don't know if that just kills it dead, when that changes, but like, it's interesting. It's like they keep coming with different ideas for Wright and then taking them in a different direction.
Right. Raven's just still sitting in the crowd, so he's hanging out. Come back.
I went just real quick. I went 2 stars on that. I mean, Wright's run is like rolling on, which is cool. It's very unlikely overall. So again, it was fine. Tonight's been a lot of matches, and they've all, for the most part, delivered. Get relevant to the time and who's in them. So
Bobby Heenan's talking about Arn now, and he says he can't encapsulate his whole career in 10 seconds, so he just wants to say thank you. Hour number 3 starts with the Nitro girls in the booth and Bobby. We get the big shield for the Nitro party again. Meanwhile, the Nitro girls are having to dance to the Nitro theme. And I swear, like, Kimberly is dancing like Elaine Bennis throughout this whole thing.
I don't think she knows how to dance in any way. I think she's a cheerleader, not a dancer. Yeah.
It's bad. So,
yeah,
we get that. Then we get a Sting video package. They kind of repeat the poem we get from the Clash, and then we see some clips of him throughout the year, like rappelling into the ring and whatnot. So there we go. Damien comes out for his match versus Richards.
Do you think they saved money to fly them all in at once? I feel like tonight's been very heavy lucha presence.
We got the whole private plane.
I guess we're in the Gulf, we're in Pensacola, so maybe it was an easier flight. So they're we'll bring them all in. I don't know. Yeah, but we got them all here.
Well, I wonder. I need to see when they were taping worldwide and stuff at Disney, because that may be a point too. Because they're all nearby. Over those Disney taping, so just drive up. So Damien comes out for his match. He gets attacked by Raven, gets laid out, DDT'd on the floor. Richards is in the ring, jawing with the referee, so he sees none of this. He just turns around, and Damien is laid out there. So Richards starts performing CPR on him. Tony calls him a lame brain and says this is the strangest episode of Nitro in history. Raven's on the outside. On the apron, he slaps Stevie, kind of wakes him up. Stevie pins him. It's a 10-second match. I went a quarter star.
Yeah, quarter star. I'm shocked Stevie's still around, honestly. I thought he'd be gone like after the Clash when Raven squashes him. I was like, oh, well, here's the write-off. So who knows now? Now it's like Raven, is he trying to mind control him back after he was insubordinate? He beat him. Now he's trying to get him back under his control, maybe by helping him out. I like Stevie's Nitro Stevie ratings shirt. Bobby also says Damien looks like Kato Kalin, which is pretty funny, just out of nowhere. And yeah, Stevie's funny here. I mean, again, I'm enjoying it as long as it lasts, because I know it's not long for Stevie, and then we'll see how quick Raven spins into the next thing. Because I know the flock is coming, because I'm pretty sure it's by October, November, we start getting the Misfits with him soon. Yeah. So I'm guessing Stevie's gone soon, and he's into that in the next couple of weeks. It's got to be.
Right. Malenko talking about Arn says when he looks back at the great competitors of the sport, Arn is right at the top of the list. Some hour 3 pyro, the Nitro girls again. They're on the show a lot. So again, talking about that filler stuff. And that leads us into Stagger Lee, who is in Milwaukee.
Yeah, this may explain the cheese sign that they showed, by the way. Stagger Lee in Milwaukee says this is the most excitement in Milwaukee since Fonzie got together with Pinky Tuscadero. Talk about fucking dating yourself, man. I know Happy Days was only 20 years before this, I guess, right? What was that, mid-70s Happy Days?
I don't know. I mean,
late 70s, I guess, but it's about the 50s. Yeah, so I don't know. It's pretty fucking dated.
Yeah, we're recording the night after Super Bowl, where consensus on the best commercial was Goodwill Ducking, which was 28 years,
I guess.
Yeah.
So if you got to compare this, I don't know. Let's call Happy Days 75. I don't remember exactly when. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're talking about shit from 04, WrestleMania 20. Whatever. Yeah, I guess it's just crazy, but I feel like it's not referenced on wrestling TV right now, shit from 04. But anyway, it just makes Lee seem old. That's all. Yeah. And he's been hanging at parties, and he's talking about partying, and that's what's funny. I'm going to these cool Nitro parties. And he's talking Happy Days. He's at a party in Kenosha and Racine, hitting all the old women's baseball league from League of Their Own, all those towns. He talks about next week's show. Next week's show and tickets are still available. Milwaukee is the home of the Brewers, the Bucks, the Crusher. Lots of Packers fans, but they have rejected their nickname change from the Cheeseheads to the Wheezeheads. And Bobby calls Lee Limburger Man. Not his best retort, but
there's probably less people that knew what the hell he's talking about when he said the Crusher than Fonzie and Happy Days.
Probably.
Because I mean, that's like Crusher was never on JCP. It's like
Happy Days came out in 74 and it aired for 11 seasons. So I guess it was into the 80s at least. But I think it's just because it's about the 50s. It always seems like more.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it does feel dated. Like when I think of Happy Days, I think of Dick and Night. So that's
right. I think Bobby also missed by not making a Lee cut the cheese joke over Limburger Man.
Mean Gene brings out another blast from the past. Big Bubba here. Bubba says, first thing first, I've had a lot of names and dressed up in a lot of outfits since he's been in WCW. So at least he owns up to it. But he's not going to lie to everyone. His name is Ray Traylor. He has flesh and blood like each of us. Back in February, somebody jumped him from behind, and in the hospital, they told him his career was over. He was at rock bottom, and he needed his family and friends the most. And he learned that when the NWO says they're together forever, that was a bunch of crap. He didn't receive one call or letter. He got a FedEx letter so I guess he did get a letter. It was a FedEx letter, but he got that from Bischoff saying his NWO services were no longer needed. But then he took a picture of Eric Bischoff and used that negative as a positive, where he posted the picture of Eric Bischoff on the wall, and that encouraged him to learn how to walk and crawl and basically rehab again. So there you go. So Ray Traylor's back is kind of a greedy, mean baby face, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's good enough to worthwhile to like give this chance to. It does feel a little John Tenta-ish, and we just kind of went through
very
that.
John Tenta-ish.
It felt, and they were so tied together in their time in WCW so far, and even WWF, honestly. So it kind of felt like, all right, we just did this, even though Traylor's, probably just a better use of a guy here. Was he hurt, or was he just like they were just taking a break? Like, because he has been gone for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't. There's nothing in the Observer report except just that he's back, and
he's just on ice for a bit, I guess. But
I don't have the Nitro book, so maybe they mentioned something. But I mean, every segment here, as we talked about, like with 97, like every segment can be loaded with backstage and just some moving parts here. So, but he's facing everybody's sacrificial lamb when they're on the come up now, and that's Prince Iakea. He basically squashes him. I don't know if we need to get much into this. I would say his offense is pretty vicious overall, so it felt kind of like your WCW Saturday Night type squash from the 80s. But almost no offense.
I was shocked they had the match here. I thought for sure he would just do the promo and then like wrestle next week or whatever. I was actually surprised they did both.
So I just want to star in a corner. That's what it
was. Yeah, I want to star. It's just a squash. I do like Tony talking about his debut in Crockett as Big Bubba, or as Ray Traylor, even like originally as a jobber and then becoming Big Bubba. So I thought that was a cool touch by Tony. And Traylor keeps yelling for the NWO as he's beating up Prince. So just an old school squash to show that Traylor's like a threat star.
So JJ Dillon talks about Arn Anderson, says he's one of the original Horsemen at the top of the game in his glory years. He will always be an icon of the Horsemen. And we come back from break, and Mean Gene brings out the Four Horsemen. So instead of that, of course, this is one of the more infamous segments we will talk about, as it is actually the NWO with their infamous parody of the Horsemen. So they start out with Conan dressed up as Mongo. He's got on the Bears jacket.
He makes that wig makes him look like, and jacket makes him look like he's like 3 feet tall. It's really funny.
He's got the football in his hand. He does tape up his fingers.
He looks like an old Mexican woman, like with the way he's like all like hunched over with the long hair.
Then we get Six as Ric Flair with the wig, the big nose. sweater and a collared shirt underneath. So Six says, "Mean Gene, woo!" And Gene takes great exception to this. He says, "Wait a minute, I know exactly who you guys are." It's like, yeah, no crap, Gene. Like, obviously, like we all
wait
know
a minute. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
That's six.
But
That's six.
at least then Gene buzzes off because he says he's not going to stay here. If you got something to say, you can talk to yourself. Six tells him to beat it. And then he's like, "We got horseman business to take care of. So Kurt Hennig, come on out here." Of course, that's Buff Bagwell. It's Kurt Hennig. He's got like an obnoxious, like salmon colored shirt, polo shirt on. Has the towel, does the towel bit when he comes out. Chewing gum, has the wig too. One of my favorite Six's Flair lines is when Hennig gets in the ring and then Six says, "I'm yelling at the top of my lungs and I don't even know why." Woo! It's like a funny, stupid. So today and Tony say this is a complete disgrace. We get the NWO like New World Order over the Horseman music as Hennig comes out, which I thought was a cool kind of touch here. And then Six says, "Kurt, I didn't mean to put you on the spot here, brother." Woo! And everyone's dying to know. It's been 2 months. Are you in or are you out? And Hennig says, "You have put me on the spot." And right at that moment, Six goes, "Woo!" And the crowd is laughing at that. Just him being ridiculous with these woos. He says, "I've got a dog named Spot." Woo! To sum it up, you put me on the spot. Woo! So he's really, I thought Six is tremendous here. Buff says, "I can't give you an answer tonight." Flair looks shocked at this. Six looks shocked at this as Flair goes into the ropes, starts strutting around and like gyrating, which again,
Conan's is like stomping in circles angrily.
He says, "I knew you'd give us this answer, so I took it upon myself to give these people a big surprise." He introduces his best friend, the enforcer of the Four Horsemen, Arn Anderson, which is Kevin Nash, who comes out with the gut, the cooler, neck brace, wig, glasses.
Just an absurd looking outfit. Just absurd. The gut is like ridiculous. He looks like he's rolling into the KOC meeting with that fucking gut.
Tony's pleading for a producer to stop this. Bobby says this is a total disgrace. Arn lets us know when he gets inside that he was taking care of some horseman business, and he lets us know everything is okay because the beer is on ice. Six dances and struts around at that. And then he says, "You know something? It's pretty ironic that on Labor Day, WCW would honor me because everyone that followed my career wondered one thing when I was about to go into labor. I watched the highlight tape of my career, and I said to myself, I'm a guy of average speed, average size, average quickness, average looks, average intelligence, average carpentry skills. But you know what? I parlayed that into a wrestling career that was quite excellent." At this point, Six puts eye drops in his eyes and is mimicking Flair crying.
Oh, he's pouring tears down his face.
Yeah,
I don't know. Was it eye drops or was it like one of those like almost like a squish ball? Like a fake tear.
Maybe.
I think it was like a fake
really
crying
tell because
he kept kind of squeezing it and it kept pouring down. I think it was like a fake reservoir of like water or whatever.
That straight ahead shot was perfect because it was right at angle to what it was last week where Flair was straight ahead and choking up. Then Nash continues and says, "But you know something? 4 months ago, I had a neck injury, and subsequently, I lost feeling in my hand, my left hand. And that's bad because that is the hand I opened beer with." The crowd chants Horseman at this point. They're still laughing at the lines, though, as well. Nash says, "I willed myself back from that injury. I got to the gym. I didn't do anything in there, but I did walk around when I got to the gym. And a week ago, I bellied up against the bar like only I can. and a fat broad smacked me on the back, and it sent a chill down him. This was the same fat broads that have followed the Horsemen for 20 years. But as I looked at that long neck lying on the average industrial grade carpet, I said to myself, "Hi, ironic." It wasn't that I was out $3.75, but it was sand ticking through the hourglass, and everyone knows so are the days of our lives. One thing you could say when Arn was coming to town, besides that he left a bunch of unpaid bar tabs, was that Arn Anderson was coming to town, and you knew that when I was on the card, I was going to give you 100%, no matter how drunk or hungover I was. And back in those days, the 8 people that did come to the show got one heck of a show. The crowd starts booing now. Nash continues. He says, "But you know what? As I came out here tonight, don't remember how I used to be. Remember me by how I look right now." Tony says we've reached the lowest point of this program. Nash then transitions and says, "So, Kurt, that puts me to you, and I got a challenge for you. I don't want to fight you because I ain't won one in 20 years, but I got a challenge for you. I can't protect these people now, and I can't put my best friend in danger. So what I'm doing tonight, I don't have much to offer you because the beer's already spoken for, but what I got is a spot. A spot with the Four Horsemen. Not just a spot, liver spot, not a spot like your dog spot, not just any spot, but my spot. So I need to know right now, how do you expect my spot, not liver spot, dog spot, my spot, to become a Four Horsemen?" So then Buff says, "As much as I want to say I'm an Arn Anderson fan, as much as I want to say I want to be a Four Horseman, I don't like you or the Horsemen, but I tell you what, it would be an honor." And he shakes hands. They celebrate. They tear off the shirts that have 4 horses with the Four Horsemen symbol on the horse's ass. Bobby says it's not funny anymore. Tony lets us know that security is having to hold back the Horsemen in the back.
I'm glad they said it.
I'm just cover themselves
because I ranted about this a lot. I'm glad that's all he had to do. The Horsemen, why wouldn't they try and come out here? They're trying to come out here. They're holding them back. Perfect. We didn't need to see it. That's it. Just say it.
Yeah. And then Tony also brings up that he has a hand in the production on the weekend shows, and he can let us know that this will not be shown again. So you better enjoy it while you can. So there you go. Obviously, like a memorable segment. So let's get our thoughts just on the segment as of now, rewatching it as we're heading into the pay-per-view. And then I went down a deep dive on kind of the ramification on this. So we can go from there.
Yeah, it's an all-time segment. I mean, Nash owned the scene. 6 was fantastic as well. We talked about Bagwell elevating. This made him feel like a bigger deal to be involved in this at this level.
Yeah.
Nash saying the things at the end is like a classic when he kept saying it over and over. Not my dog spot, not just any spot, my spot, liver spot, dog spot, not dog spot. Like he just kept saying it down the stretch. I mean, it's everyone kind of remembers the DX Nation one. This was this came way before that, like almost a full year before that, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's effective because it makes them look cool and like the punks and the assholes that they are, right? That's what they're supposed to be. Horsemen stand for tradition. You're shitting on tradition. We're in a bit of a traditional wrestling area, in the Florida Panhandle. So like that's cool. Like it's not in what would you consider like a modern town, right? It's kind of an older town. So that's cool. I think my only issue with it going to the pay-per-view is what happens at the pay-per-view. And we'll talk about that when we get to Fall Brawl, because to me, again, we've talked about this iteration of the Horsemen with the promise it has. And then you do this and it feels like, okay, the logical payoff is the Horsemen are strong and they get payback, especially with the team that the NWO puts out there. Like it could have easily won that match and rolled on. I think what happens, this double down that they do just completely neuters anything to do. And we know the Horsemen are pretty much done. And you're adding probably more heat to the NWO than you need at this point, like given where they're headed, like unless you're just never going to end it, which I don't think, that was part of the plan, I guess, at some point. So I do think that I think my bigger issue will come in a couple weeks more than on this night. I think coming out of this night, it just feels like a good heel wrestling angle. I'm sure you're going to talk about the backstage stuff now, which I know I'm sure there were some unhappy people included in this whole thing, but it is iconic. Do you think it's more memorable and iconic than the original, like the week before? Like, which one do you think stands the test of time more, the actual Arn promo or the?
I think this one, just because of the amount of real life ramifications it has, because I mean, there's been drama in WCW, but comparatively with the legit stuff that was going on between Bret and Shawn in WWF land, WCW had been pretty spared like around this time in this war. And this moment, in a lot of ways, really, to me, symbolizes a shift. Because, and I think this is a unique situation, you know, unfortunately, in some ways, where we're 30 years from this and all these people are still alive except for Henning. So this is something where, like, we've heard Nash talk about this on his podcast. We've heard Arn talk about this on his podcast. We've heard Flair talk about it on his podcast, Waltman and shoot interviews and whatnot. So I went down the whole kind of rabbit hole here. So I think supposedly this was Terry Taylor's idea as the booker.
Both
He's legit,
or just this one?
both the whole angle.
Okay.
But specifically this like parody. So Terry Taylor's idea, he's legitimately friends with Arn. I think he sort of knew kind of what was wanted to get like very personal with the angle in of itself. And you got to remember, Terry Taylor's somebody that in the late 80s feuded very prominently with Chris Adams. Chris Adams has alcohol issues. That got brought up in that feud.
Mm-hmm.
So Terry Taylor's not someone that wouldn't necessarily have shied away. And I think Terry Taylor just thought like they were doing business. But that's so everybody kind of agrees like it was Terry Taylor's idea with like just with the parody, right? Arn did give Nash his cooler, so that is Nash's or Arn's cooler.
Noted that, yeah.
Yes. So it actually like he didn't get it from the like it was like Arn basically handed that to Nash. And Arn says that, and so that's where kind of the story then differs, where you have these two versions where from Nash's side, it's not like they, said like, here's exactly what we're going to say. And, they went through the whole script, but he knew the gist of what the content was going to be. He gave him his cooler. So that to Nash's mind thought that gave him like the go ahead and the carte blanche, etc.
And to pause it there, like, I don't think anything he says is like that far out of bounds. Like, there's been way more cutting edge shoot promos. Like, Arn being like a drinker and the Horsemen like partying, like that's part of their fucking gimmick is that they would drink all night and show up like I don't know what it is in there that like besides shitting on the moment, but again, you knew this going in that they were going to parody the moment. I don't feel like anything he said was like so far out of bounds. Like nothing like Sunny Days, like nothing like that shit. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like he went that hard in like that we've seen in other stuff.
I think Sunny Days is a good comparison though, because that's probably something Arn actually had in his mind, because it's like, well, okay, like, yeah, he said Sunny Days legitimately to like get a rise to somebody he hates, like that. Whereas, that was like a shoot, brother. This is basically like it almost is a word that turns it is a word that turns into a shoot. So I do think that is part of it, that it's like, I mean, it's very variable. And I will say, like, I think there's some interesting, like, even with hardcore wrestling fans, it's interesting to hear, like, later on, like, retrospectively, whether people are in favor of this or not, even just as a standalone angle. Like, I've seen compelling cases for both sides where they land, but so that's Nash's idea is that, like
Half
he
the stuff
got
he
the
said is what
cooler,
Arn said.
huh?
Half the stuff Nash said was just mimicking what Arn said exactly. The average
Yeah,
wrestler,
it's
average
so,
looks. Like,
so
I mean, he just
basically like none of that, everything with that he's fine with. It was all the alcohol stuff. So Nash contends that like everything was good that night till Arn called home. And then between his wife's reaction and Brock's reaction, like crying, that's when Arn got pissed. And so Arn, like, according to Nash, Arn like confronted him at the hotel with like 5 beers in his hand.
yeah.
And Arn
Where'd he
was
get it
like,
from?
or
That he's a
Nash
drunk.
was like, yeah, this is art, imitating life or whatever. Nash says he's apologized, but I mean, as of like the latest clip I could find where he talked about this was his like click this interview from a couple years ago, and he still said like, before this moment they were on really good terms. After this moment, not so much. So this is like a 30-year grudge that's been held. Now, from the Horseman side of things, they're saying like that just he basically crossed the proverbial line with the alcohol stuff. I do agree to some instance with what Orange says as far as if you wanted to take a shot at them, like from a storyline perspective, calling Arn an alcoholic doesn't really necessarily help the macro like wrestling storyline. Arn's whole thing is like he should have like attacked that my left hand was paralyzed, how that was like my best weapon in the ring. Now it's neutralized, all that stuff.
But that's
Now
not a
there I
parody. That's not a joke. That's like a
it's not a
promo.
parody, but they hadn't really done anything like that up to this
Yeah.
point. Like we had the Nacho Man and Huckster, I guess, which was straight satire. And Nash loved bringing this up and taking credit. He's like, this is the first time the boys did this parody. And I mean, you can tell like Nash loves this and still doesn't. I mean, it's a weird situation where everybody that talks about this needs to get over themselves a little bit. But you have that's our side, that's Nash's side. Flair on his podcast said it was terrible. Kind of throws Terry Taylor under the bus for being one of Orange's best friends and like basically greenlighting the whole thing. I mean, it goes down the gambit. Even Bischoff though on his podcast said like he regretted it, and whether that's genuine or not, he said like I'm more mature now, so I would have had a different approach to it back then. There's a clip of effing Ted DiBiase talking about it on his podcast, and he wasn't even there this night. He says it was terrible. So it's like a lot of the old vets at this point, like the old guard, were not in favor of it. And
I just think maybe it's just in hindsight, it just feels benign. And like part of the Horseman gimmick was being partiers and drinkers. Like, if he would have said,
but not necessarily Arn. I don't think so. I mean, I think
yeah, but whatever. He hangs with Flair at the bar. Like,
yeah,
it's
but
known.
Nash does bring that up, but it's very different. If you watch these 80s promos constantly, they're very different. Flair 100% talks about like I'm gonna be at the Marriott, tonight in Atlanta. So if anybody wants to come, party with the Nature Boy and get a ride on Space Mountain, there you go. So Flair absolutely does that. Tully even talks more about that too. But Arn was very strictly business. Like he never really said like. I mean, I don't think like the
Yeah, but he's like an
drinking.
old. Yeah, but we're not saying he's going and partying. It's more you look at Arn and you look at this type of guy in the 80s. Like he's a grizzled old guy who was having some beers in the workshop doing whatever. Like that's just like that type of person. I can see if Nash said this dude's got cirrhosis, his wife left him because he's a drunk. Like there's none of that. He's not saying that. He's just like,
I mean, he did say like he was drunk and hungover and was performing in front
they
of
all were in the 80s.
Yeah, but that Arn took offense to that because he said that was never the case with him either. So I mean, Arn kind of took pride with that as well. So I don't know. It's very interesting. I mean, this is just one of those moments that, like, you have a segment that you could dissect from, like, the TV show level, but then again, there's been so much after the fact that, like, Hogan and Savage are now both dead. So we're never getting more, like, point of view content on what actually is going on between them. And it was always kind of blurred. So there's, like, these feuds that have continued that, now are just like in wrestling lore, and you kind of have to piece it together. Where this one, again, all the main principals have really spoken about it and have their own point of views. And I think it's one of those that it's interesting in that, I think with Shawn versus Bret, clearly, like, Bret was whiny, but, obviously, like, Shawn was more in the wrong.
Yeah, this
as far as that. This one, I think, a little more nuanced. Where you
Bret
see
Shawn to me felt personal. This just felt like they were trying to do a good angle, and they thought they had a little bit more creative freedom than they did. Like, I take that more this way than, like, them trying to like, personally attack Arn to embarrass him in front of. Like, I really don't think it was that. I think it was more they just were thinking they were funny and trying to be, like, ahead of the game. And I think it's a little young versus old mentality and protecting the business, and, like, where Nash and those guys had were versus them. And that's been their angle with the whole NWO. Like, Bret and Shawn to me felt they were personally trying to take each other down. This to me just felt like they thought this was good business. Arn and Flair disagreed, or maybe they agreed and then disagreed. And I still argue that, like, if WarGames goes differently and the Horsemen are up and the NWO take the lick, then I think they're not as angry, because you say, well, it was just a good angle. They got a little on the edge with the Flair and Arn stood victorious at the end, and they raised their hands and they got revenge. I think it's probably looked at less.
I'm trying to see if the whole where Bischoff basically went in the locker room, and what did he exactly say? It was like only Hogan, etc., is drawn. Only Hogan, Savage, and Piper have ever drawn money for WCW, and, like, Flair was there. Took offense to that. I don't know if that's around this time or not, but they're protective of that. So yeah, in the short term, with the Observer, like, it's in the week after this episode, like next week's issue of the Observer, but he mentions, like, there was a big, brouhaha or whatever backstage, and then supposedly Flair was supposed to come out and do his rebuttal in a promo later on this show, but did not, and thinks that was after Arn called his wife and found that out. So, yeah, just a very interesting. I think it's one of the more interesting things we've been able to dissect on this show.
And they both hold up. I mean, the original holds up great. The parody holds up. Is pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard it's easy for me to say, oh, don't be offended by it, Arn, but, like, I get why he is, I'm sure. I just don't think, looking back, it was nearly as eviscerating as you may think it was, like people may remember it as. Like, I really thought it was just guys trying to be funny and trying to do business, like, more than it didn't feel as personal as some other stuff has been in later years with some of the shoot stuff.
Yeah. I think it's just one of those things, like with comedy, there's, like, this line that people have that you don't really know until you crossed it, and then sometimes when you cross it, like, it's like an arbitrary line. So that's that. So then we get Tony back from break, saying this was supposed to be a celebration, and for us to allow this to happen is beyond any reasoning. That leads us into the next match, which is supposed to be Chavo Guerrero versus Chris Jericho. Bobby says, I've done some bad things in my career, but this was a disgrace. Tony says, that he was there 12 years ago when the Horsemen formed, and he wonders if 12 years from now, these people will still be saying they're NWO for life. I thought that was a good, like, weighted moment on commentary here. But Eddie comes out before the match. Tony, in a funny moment, says, "Oh, here's another big mouth with a microphone." So, on Eddie. Eddie says he gave Chavo the opportunity to become a man and become a champ, but he couldn't get it done. So instead of disgracing their family again, why don't he just let Uncle Eddie take care of business and hit the bricks? At this moment, Scotty Riggs comes down. I was like, what?
Do the clap.
Chavo says that, Eddie was supposed to watch his back, but all he did was leave him to the wolves. Riggs gets in the ring and says he deserves a shot at the cruiserweight title, which I have no idea what he'd be presenting as his rationale for that. Eddie rightfully says that the only thing he deserves is to walk right back where he came from. So that was funny. Then Prince Iakea, who we literally just saw get completely squashed 30 minutes ago, he comes out and says he wants a shot. And then the locker room just empties out as we get Kidman, Damien, Cyclope, which I guess you could use as some long-term storytelling here as he comes out and Jericho's there at the corner. And Super Astro, of all people, makes his debut, just randomly coming out there. Bobby does say, though, like in WCW now, you got to take the bull by the horn. So he kind of salvages why all of a sudden 12 people just came to the ring asking for a shot. Big brawl breaks out. Announcers talk about how much this sucks for Chavo. And I should mention this. So,
right.
So Chavo does get a WCW title, TV title shot versus Alex Wright on WCW Saturday night. It's kind of like a retcon for his opportunity to get ruined here. And Kurt Hennig faces Conan on WCW.
Oh,
Saturday
interesting.
night. So we do get 2 follow-ups there, which is nice. So everybody's out. The Vianos are out. Alex Wright and Ultimo are out, brawling on the floor. We get some big guys all around.
Super Colo.
Oh, it's Super Colo. Silver King's out there. Super Astro nearly dies as we just see him going flying off screen. I don't know if he's landed yet, Bobby says. Tony says he's never seen anything like the show. It ends up with Eddie and Chris Jericho in the ring. Eddie hits Chris Jericho with the cruiserweight title and then does the frog splash with the belt on top of Jericho's face. So there you go. No match. I don't know if you got any comments on this kind of schmoz here.
No, it was a fun segment. That was a good way to get the crowd back up after the NWO stuff because that definitely like kind of bummed them out. So instead of like a boring match or just like a 3-minute match, like I actually liked this as a kind of way to get the energy up. All right, have 10 guys go out there and fly around for 3 minutes. It's hard not to get excited by that. So I actually thought it was pretty shrewd booking to kind of wake things back up, and hype some of the Fall Brawl matches as well as part of it.
Right. So the Giant tells Arn that he's a future Hall of Famer and Giant's going to be a future world champion. So congrats on the retirement. You deserve it. Hulk Hogan promo comes out to Voodoo Child with Eric Bischoff with him. Bobby lets us know he's going to be the ring announcer for the big ending match between Hogan and Luger. Tony says Hogan's scared to death of Sting. Bobby says, I can't stand him, but I know what he can do in the ring. Bischoff says, as Hogan poses, that you just got to look at the heavyweight champion of the universe, and he's the man who has single-handedly driven Sting to the rafters. He broke his heart and took his soul. Hogan has defended the title more times in 1 year than Sting has wrestled. He's the people's champion and now has something to say. So Hogan comes out and says, riddle me this, riddle me that. Who in the hell is Sting?
Riddle me this.
Big black bat. So this is the first time we hear this, I think, from Hogan. Much better than like his Stinky Giant. Some of his other Flexi Lexi, some of his other annoying nicknames and stuff he's came up with. He says, who is Sting beaten? As far as I'm concerned, you come out here with a wrinkled up trench coat. If you want to be a superstar and a god like himself, you better get into some dry cleaning, brother. You look like Columbo. You're a Hollywood wannabe. So, some good points here from the whole.
Well, yeah, and he says your white face and wrinkled up body, you quit the gym. And I thought this was interesting because we know later part of the reason they claim that they didn't want to go all in on Sting is because of how lazy and out of shape he looked. And I didn't know if this was like a veiled message to him or just a coincidence, but I thought it was interesting to hear Hogan saying it now already because that ends up being their talking point later.
Yeah. So we get some "We Want Sting" chants. Hogan says, "I want Sting. Won't you come on down and meet your maker? You better get out here because you got a few stingers who want to see you get stung. I'm bored and the title is on the line." So nothing happens. Sting does not come out. Hogan says they know Stinger's in the building, and wasn't there another man that wanted to get Sting and Hogan together? Why don't you come on out here? Eric calls JJ Dillon the junior executive at WCW, which is pretty funny. It's basically assistant to the regional manager here. So they asked JJ to come out. He comes down. Tony says, he's fuming, brings up JJ's history with the Horsemen. Eric says, after careful deliberation, Hogan has an answer for the junior executive at WCW. And Hogan says, now that I've pulled out of my brand new action movie in Montreal, now that the title is on the line, how bad is Sting, and will Hollywood be able to handle him? He has an answer for Sting, and right at that moment, he punches JJ Dillon. He gives him a leg drop. Tony calls it sickening. Hogan hits another leg drop. Tony says, I'm not going to call this, and slams down his headset. And then Eric spray paints "Bite Me" on JJ Dillon, as Hogan tells the camera Sting has been stung because Hollywood, Hall, Nash, Macho, and Six Pac are just too sweet. So I thought this was a good promo by Hogan here. I think he brings up some points. I think he brings up some points that will lengthen out the feud again, that Sting hasn't been in the ring. He's not just going, accept the match right away. He does have some points to that. And overall, he beats up JJ Dillon. So really shows they have no respect for the quote unquote authority figures.
Yeah, he's been treated like trash since he debuted. He's had zero authority in any way in this role. He's been neutered from the start, honestly. It made it look like kind of a buffoon throughout it. Yeah, I thought the promo was really good. You mentioned it earlier how they teased how when Hogan's here, the NWO go off the rails to impress, and that's been proven out. They're really going all in on the heel run to Fall Brawl. This is pretty vile that Hogan does this, and then on top of the parody plus some of the other stuff from tonight. My only issue here is, we were told during the parody that the Horsemen were being held at bay. Where's Luger and Giant and anyone else right now while JJ Dillon's getting destroyed by Hulk Hogan? Nobody's coming to save this fucking guy. Sting, you've been begging for this title shot. You can't come down, and I guess unless he's not here, this is my issue. With this stuff, why is no one making any effort, and why don't we have guys standing guard and all this other stuff right at this point? So to me, that's been my main issue with some of this. But the segment itself is great. The NWO is having a banner night. One thing you could argue is maybe because Hogan's not at Fall Brawl, this could have been something that would be good the night after, coming off a hot pay-per-view, do it there, because it kind of low-key gets lost in the shuffle being the same night as the parody. You can maybe argue it's one thing too many on this night, but it does also make it supersized at the same time. So it works, but I didn't remember this being here because you remember this being the parody.
Yeah, Sting is difficult to navigate because if you have a character that doesn't talk, you can't cover for him not being there, so you can't say oh, he's on location or he's blah blah blah.
But we know Luger's here, and we know
Luger's here. I guess with Luger, at least with Luger, you could maybe say he was preparing for his match, but they should have just said that. Sting, I think, is the toughest one because he's been here every week, and again, the announcers really can't cover for him, so it's just
we assume Giant was here because he was backstage. I guess we didn't
maybe.
He
did the pre-tape. Yeah.
I
would say Sting's the biggest grievance because again, you can't
and
Luger.
I still think
I give Luger a pass because he comes out right next for the match. So
that's even the worst reason.
No, he's prepping for his match. Got to get your pre-match routine.
It's not a title match. Who cares? You gotta.
Not even paying attention.
All right, get to the main event. Still got a ways to go here. I'll stop.
Macho Man and Scott Hall versus DDP and Luger. Tony says, he usually tells people he has the greatest job on earth, but not tonight. Luger and Page come out separate. Bobby says that's concerning. They're also in separate corners. They're kind of staring each other down. DDP and Hall start out. Today speculates Hall and Savage could be on Team NWO at Fall Brawl. DDP and Savage go after it as we head to break. Tony says there may be some fighting WCW yet. Back from break, Tony lets us know there's been no tags on the WCW side. Page is getting worked over. Fallaway slam from Hall. NWO's doing good work tagging in and out. The announcers keep pleading that, eventually Page is going to have to make a tag to Luger if he can. Savage hits the double axe handle from the top for 2. Bobby says this is the most powerful the NWO has ever been. DDP gets the clothesline. He makes the tag to Luger, but Nick Patrick didn't see it. Luger comes in. He's a house of fire. And Nick Patrick tries to stop it from coming in, but then essentially lets it go. So Luger runs through his whole house of fire offense. Hits 5 atomic drops to Hall from Luger. Goes for the bionic forearm to Hall, but Hall ducks. He ends up decking Page. Savage gets racked by Luger, but he's not the legal man, so Hall is able to climb on top of Page, and the NWO sneaks out a victory here. I actually thought this was a very clever finish because you have I thought this actually played off a lot of things, and for one moment, I think this would have been a finish that would have been very easy for Luger to look real dumb in.
Mm-hmm.
But in his mind, one, he made the tag. So they legitimately did tag him in. And 2, Patrick let it go for a while during his comeback. So you can see his point of view. From Patrick's point of view, he's been belaboring with the tag titles and all this stuff with Randy Anderson. So he's I've got to call it down the middle, and he does here. He technically calls it correctly, and that Page is the legal person, so they get the pinfall with him. And then from Tony's point of view on announcing, it's good too, where he's just the hell with it, it's time to fight fire with fire. Just, call Savage out, getting racked. So I thought this made everybody actually look good. I thought this was a very clever finish. I don't know who came up with this, but I really enjoyed it. And as a storytelling match overall, as a main event tag, I thought this was very successful. I went 3 stars.
Yeah, I went 3 as well. I like the heat segment on Page was really well done, and they did do a good job in the closing angle. Luger and Page to get some storytelling woven into the match. WarGames is coming fast. These guys are supposed to be in the match there. You can kind of see where it's probably headed. So I think it's been good. It's been a good way to eat up some weeks to keep the NWO strong while WCW is having issues. Sting, he's kind of MIA. Luger and Page are infighting. It kind of gives you, and the Horsemen have their shit going on now. So it's you kind of have a window for path for the NWO to get dominant again. I think Luger and Page have both been really good in this angle. And you're right. It's an angle that could have looked foolish at times.
Right.
All right. Let's do our awards quick for Nitro. Match of the night. I went with that opening tag. It never really topped it for me. The main event was close, but
agreed.
Moment clearly is the spoof.
Pretty easy. Yeah.
I went Nash as the MVP. 6 was great too, but Nash is the star of that show.
Yeah, I think Nash and 6 are your 2 contenders, but I went Nash as well.
Super Astro for a debut. Milwaukee for the road reports. And I'll tell you, Chad, if this was their goal was to deliver a superb Nitro on a night without Raw, they did last week. I went 8, and this week I went 9. The matches this week were much better than last week. We have multiple big angles with the main event, with Hogan and JJ, with the spoof, historical stuff too, in there. The only match that was really kind of clunky was whatever the Lucha one was. I forget. That was kind of sloppy.
Viano versus Liz Morgan.
Yeah, and that was whatever. The rest were, to me, at least kind of 2 1/4 and above, and everything else was quick. So it was a pretty busy night, and they did a good job. And I think we'll look at these grades, and it may end up being the biggest disparity we probably get between shows. Now, it's not fully fair to Raw or the WWF side, but when you look at the head-to-head, this is a pretty dominant week.
Did you say what you went?
9 out of 10. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. All right. I'm 8.5. So, yeah, I think, with it being 3 hours, just a little bit too much bloat, they probably could have condensed this down.
Easy.
Easy. It might be a 10 out of 10, but yeah, I went 8.5 out of 10. It's a great episode.
I'd have to look. It may be my highest rated Nitro. I don't know if I've gone 9. Like I know I've gone 9 and up on pay-per-views,
I mean,
but
it's legit 2.5 hours, which for wrestling television, that's a long time, and it's a long time, and it's one of the better, I would say, 3-hour episodes of wrestling television in history.
all right. Well, guess what's not one of the greatest episodes of television history? We're going to cover it now. We're going to go to September 5th, 1997 for Friday night's main event, part 2. We get a video package covering Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Ross questioning Michaels if he acted alone, within the heat of the moment, premeditated plan, or does he have a partnership with Helmsley? So it kind of covers the whole gamut. We then get our opening animation. Jim Ross is with Doc Hendricks this week. No Cornette, which I don't know, whatever your mileage may vary on the two. Still going by the Doc name, not rebranded yet. The crowd's fired up.
Mid-South reunion here. So
the crowd's all fired up, which I'm guessing was, I don't know, Everett's here watching. I know he was there. Could tell us if it was sweetened up or not. We're in the later end of the taping from the Rosemont from the week before. So this is the back end of a very long taping here on this Friday's main event special. This is our official go home. We are, under 48 hours from ground zero at this point. So we head to the ring for our opening match. It's Owen Hart taking on the Patriots. Patriot heads out. Warm welcome. Owen solo. He's got the slammy. He's got the Canadian flag. We get clips of Patriot helping Vader against the Harts last week. Ross says we have a shocking update in story regarding Steve Austin tonight. Doc puts over Patriot as a tough and cool dude. Cuts through some opening offense, focuses on the arm. Owen tries to push free. Patriot keeps him in the soup. Doc tells us Sonny's back again tonight. She'll have some big interviews ahead of us. Owen finally starts laying some strikes, eats a boot on a charge. Patriot gets back in business. Get another glimpse of offense from Patriot, but Owen gets a spin kick, works the leg. Ross notes that Owen is focusing on the leg for Bret for Sunday, which I thought was a nice touch. Ross reminds us that the Patriot defeated Hitman on Raw. Owen gets 2 on a middle rope elbow, hammers away after a break, gets a missile drop kick. Patriot rallies with a scoop power slam, follows with a drop kick and a back suplex. Owen floats through, gets an enziguri, goes up top, but Patriot blocks, slams him down, but in comes the British Bulldog for the DQ. Bret's in as well. The beatdown's on. Bret nails the DDT. The Hart's beat on Patriot till Vader comes out, makes a save. He breaks up the sharpshooter. That allows Patriot to hit the Uncle Slam. He hammers away until officials break them up. This is fine. I'm okay with the DQ, even though we get a lot of them on these shows, these Friday main events. But this one, you're not going to beat Patriot, and I get why you're keeping Owen strong. Both have big matches on Sunday. You further Vader's face turn. And I think it's kind of been a sneaky, decent build for Bret and Patriot. Like, it's kind of a throwaway match, but they've at least invested the time into making this feel like more than just a throwaway. So I went 2.5. If you want to add it to the list of disappointing Owen stuff on TV that, could be helping these shows and is not. Here's another one. I'll give maybe a little grace on this one, given where they are at and what it is, but it's been consistent for us for 2 years now that Owen's a guy they could really need to help drive the quality up. And Everett said he thinks they recorded 3 different openings on this night, so a lot going on.
Yeah, I went 2.5 here, and I absolutely present this as another disappointing Owen Hart match. They got time. Just wasn't bad. Wasn't very good either.
Last week, right? Last week you go over Bret Vader. So you look at this as the main event match, given how they stack these shows. So they're expecting.
Yeah, they did present this night main event style. So yeah, the first hour here has 3 competitive matches, and then we'll get to the last hour. I thought the stuff with the leg was good on commentary, but what you were seeing in the ring didn't replicate that because Owen was all over the place. He's doing enziguri, he's doing an elbow, nothing that affects the leg. So he's very sporadic and inconsistent in his attack, and then I mean the DQ finish, it is what it is. Like, I'm not shocked by it, but man, I think like it just felt like one of those things that like this doesn't make like these DQ NWO finishes good, but God, everybody rails against like in '97 that the NWO had all these
a lot of
finishes, and man, these Hart Foundation matches are just nothing. Where it's like, if all that's gonna happen is arbitrarily at some point Bulldog's just gonna run into the ring and vice versa, like why even bother? Because it feels like such a crutch that he just gets in the ring and that's that. So just
it happens a lot. There's still the problem is the depth is still an issue. on this roster, and they really are trying to protect anyone top, but they want to have competitive matches. So it's like something's got to give at some point, right? They don't really have the depth yet to fill out to like have like an upper and a mid, a lower. It's like they just kind of have a bunch of guys that they're trying to simultaneously push. And it's an issue. So Jim Ross and Doc reset. They send us to comments from Sergeant Slaughter, commissioner, regarding Austin. Slaughter's in his office and says, Austin is demanded to return to action regardless of doctor's orders, but he must act in the best interest of the World Wrestling Federation. So in his opinion, it is that Austin will not return until he has completed rehab, and that Austin has more guts than brains, so he is suspending him until he is cleared. He is ordering him to forfeit his half of the tag titles on Sunday at Ground Zero. Ross tells us the actual decision was made earlier this week, and that WWF dispatched a camera crew to Texas. We cut to that footage where Austin answers the door. He asks why they're there and how they found him. We get a producer asking for his comments about the suspension. Austin says, you don't look like Jim Ross unless you lost 100 pounds. And he says if him and McMahon wanted answers, they should have sent someone with actual authority. Austin tells the producer to pack up and go back to Stamford. He's got no business being at his ranch, and his bullshit that he is suspended. Austin says, are you a private detective? And then says, no, leave. And then he comes back out and says, on second thought, you can stay and I'll answer your questions because I have a care package that you have sent me and I want to show it off. And Austin tells him not to touch anything and then goes back inside. So this is the usual kind of manic Austin. He's in, he's out, he's quitting, he's out, he's back. He's all over the place and trying to keep us tuned in late night here, teasing more Austin kind of on the loose on the ranch later to come. And I think the Austin stuff is pretty much the most memorable point of these long term. Like it's what I remember when I think of these shows is Austin at home. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, so they've made it official deep in the night here on this Friday before that he's no longer able to compete and they're going to strip him.
Stripped of the titles.
Not the IC though. He has not stripped him of the IC yet.
Sarge is, which seems weird that like one and the other.
Right.
Sarge's office looked like he was hanging out with Skinner. There was some like crazy plants going on in the background there. I think like whoever wrote Sarge's promo like specifically tried to get him to fumble and say as many big words as he could because he was like rehabilitation. It's my predicament and all these like high syllable words for Sarge to spit out. So it was humorous.
All right. So we got a paid ads, Discovery Zone to get the free poster. Sonny's at the announce table. Ross says we'll hear more from Austin tonight, but he won't ruin the surprise of what we'll see. But he will be there Sunday. Sunny says she's going to find out why Rick Rude is here and is also going to try and get a hold of Shawn Michaels. Back to Texas we go. So they don't keep us waiting too long here. Austin comes around the house with a crossbow, arrows, and a FedEx package. Austin opens the package. There's a promo picture of Jim Ross from what looks like 1994 and a get well message. Austin jokes how he can't spell his last name. And then there's signed pictures from Vince, Gorilla Monsoon, and Owen Hart. Austin says he's no expert, but he can tell the same person signed every picture because they don't care about him. Austin tells Ricky, the producer, to hang the pictures on the animal targets and to put Owen's picture on his deer's ass. He's pissed at WWF for taking everything he's fought away from him. He wants to know why he's been suspended for doing nothing wrong. It's keeping him at home instead of letting him defend the IC title every night. And he'll even wrestle the cameraman if he wants. And the office has pissed him off with this crappy care package, just try to save their asses so he won't sue them. Austin says he'll get payback on Owen. He gets his bow and arrow, says the conditions are a little windy. He's got the pictures all tacked up on the deer. He says Vince is in the kill zone. Normally he'd be the ass, but that's Owen tonight. Austin talks shit as he's firing arrows to everyone. Says Ross sucks. Gorilla, he hauls like a jackass. Austin walks around the back. He craps on Owen, calls him a piece of shit, and he puts an arrow right through his gizzard. Austin says he'll be at Ground Zero, and no way can they keep him out of the ring. He'll give up his tag belt, but they're not going to take the IC from him. And this interview is over. So again, kind of classic Austin bit. Good way to keep him front and center. You hype Ground Zero. It's low stakes. They had to kill some time anyway, so let this dude riff for 10 minutes and eat up some time here. So, I mean, in lieu of anything physical, which you can't do at the moment, they're at least keeping him front and center.
Yeah, I've actually gotten an argument with Charles from Pro Wrestling Only on this segment. I really dislike this segment, actually. I think it presents Austin as such a redneck and tonally just completely off. Like there's the anti-authority piece that works, but he's so manic and it's really just that like deep redneck stuff that's it's very inauthentic. Like that's not a true. I mean, like let me tell you, in the landscape of 2026 and in 1997, somebody acting like this is not going to be a baby face or anybody you want to be around. Like he's not going to be somebody you're going to be cheered for. He's somebody that's probably going to get arrested and not a good person. So if you're that,
which halftime show if you're watching,
so yeah, he's definitely watching Kid Rock last night. So there you go. It's just it was I don't know. It just felt like somebody like it's it's like a it felt like a Yankee trying to produce like what they think like a Southern or a redneck. So it didn't work.
No, and I think there's a reason this one's forgotten a time more than the others. Like it's
once he starts getting in the ring as we get to and starts like
they pick up a ground zero.
Leaning more into the anti-authority. I mean, that's his bread and butter. He's anti-authority. Like he can be country leaning, like that's part of his demeanor. But this was like straight up deliverance, backwoods.
Yeah. They've navigated this month fine enough, but they gotta pick it up now. Now I think now they kind of know officially like where he's at too more than they did before. Those first 2 weeks, they've been coming out of SummerSlam. They just weren't sure what he was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like with him and Ray on the WCW side, but obviously, like Austin's more important in the grand scheme of things to WWF. They were kind of navigating how long he'd be out and how they need to placate that.
All right, back there we go. We kind of get the other half of things. We get Dude Love taking on the British Bulldog. Bulldog's out. Ross says WWF has made the right decision. Doc agrees with Austin being put out on the bench. Dude stressed out to a pop, puts a big funny hat on. He's talking jive. Bulldog attacks from behind, beats on him with strikes, smacks him with a chair. They head in the ring. Bulldog continues to batter Dude, chokes away. Ross says the Headbangers are now going to take the 4th slot in the Fatal 4-Way. So the belts are on the line still in that Ground Zero 4-Way, but we will be guaranteed to have new champions now. So we got Legion of Doom, Godwins, Bulldog and Owen, and now the Headbangers, who've been jobbing a bit lately. So this is a big come up for them. We saw them last week, right?
They mentioned on commentary like a decent bit of foreshadowing actually about them kind of like sneaking in the back door and
Yeah, so I mean it's interesting, like they lost on this show, so it makes you think they did this after they recorded this because maybe they didn't know. Because do they have the Headbangers job to the fucking did they lose the Truth? Whoever they lost to last week, it was Truth Commission.
Truth Commission.
Yeah, do they do that if they know they're gonna be in that match?
Yeah, I mean, there is part of it again. Like, what did they do to deserve to get in the?
Yeah, but even beyond that, that makes me think when they taped this, they didn't know yet that the Headbangers are going to be in that match, and they added this in post when they realized finally that Austin couldn't go. They probably filmed the slaughter thing. They filmed that at home, and then they shoot on the Headbangers in at that point. So I think going into it, they still thought Austin could probably stand on the apron and not really wrestle and like be out there, and then they realized he couldn't even do that. Is my guess. Dude eats a boot on a charge. Bulldog kicks him down, hammers away. We go to a break, come back. Dude has a sleeper on, cracks an elbow for 2, goes back to the sleeper. Bulldog drops down and slings him to the floor, kicks Dude hard into the railing, shoves him into it twice, throws him into the steps. Bulldog goes back to the chin lock. Ross and Doc go in heavy, hyping the return of Raw from Cincy on Monday Live, so they're excited to get back there, as we all are. Dude breaks free, snaps Bulldog over to buy some space. Bulldog kicks, Dude kicks and punches away. Gets a swinging neck breaker, nails the sweet shin music, double arm DDT, but out comes Owen Hart. Get another disqualification. Bulldog and Owen batter Dude. Owen says he has a message for Austin, who's on his ass at home. He should watch as Owen breaks Dude's neck, and then Legion of Doom make the save. This is like a rinse and repeat of the opener. Decent match with some brawling, same exact finish. This one probably could have had more of a finish. I think either of these guys could have taken a loss and been fine. And if you want to get over Owen and Bulldog as a team for Sunday, just make this a long tag match to open the show. Just do Patriot and Dude against Bulldog and Owen, and have Bulldog and Owen get the win. Have Dude take the fall. Like, who cares? Whatever.
Yeah.
Or do a DQ still, but at least it's one DQ, and you have a brawl with LOD or something, right? So instead of back to back doing the same fucking thing. So I went 2.5. Felt like the same match to me.
Yeah, so the Headbangers hadn't won on TV in 2.5 months. Maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, they clearly just needed a 4th team, and they decided last second.
Yeah, I went 3 stars here. It's very negligible between 2 3/4 and 3 stars for me. I did like the action here. I thought, as we talked about, dude's character stinks, but thought he showed some good bumping here. It was more violent. I like Davey better than Owen too on offense. I thought he was more vicious. So I like the structure of the match better, even though this was kind of 2 matches that mimicked each other, and again had the same horrible finish. So yeah, I would definitely think they could have condensed that into one. It'd been much more successful from a viewing standpoint. But just as a standalone match, I thought dude had some good bumps on the outside. Bulldog was pretty vicious, and overall, I like the match in the vacuum.
All right, we get a recap of the indecent proposal from Pillman, and then Sonny is with Brian backstage. As Pillman's stipulations of Ground Zero are intriguing if you're a single lady, but for a married woman like Marlena, it can be a bit apprehensive. Pillman and Sonny are kind of chuckling as Brian just mixes it all the double entendres he can get. Says it'll be real hard at first because Marlena will have to swallow her pride, but he's no taskmaster. It'll just be some light chores like cleaning the pipes and some light S&M, sweeping and mopping, and he has all the right tools for her. He holds up some lingerie. Brian says late at night she'll bring her sweet little box of chocolates, and everyone knows he has a sweet tooth and everything will be just fine. He's not going to make Terry do anything she hasn't already done with him before. So kind of classic Pillman, really laying the stakes on here. I like that Sonny's with him because you could tell she's torn because she's like a Pillman gal and she's into it, but she did warn us last week, like kind of crossed the line when you bring Dakota in. So, but at her core, she's a bitch, so she's got into it. So, and this is fine. I mean, this is kind of Pillman by the book.
You think he said Taskmaster is not?
Yeah, it might have been. I didn't think of that, but yeah, definitely could have been.
Well, that's what I thought. So, yeah, overall, I mean, they built this feud, if nothing else. So, should get some resolution at Ground Zero.
Was someone not as sharp as Pillman, I would have wrote it off as nothing, but Pillman's too smart to use that without. Ground Zero has been sneaky well built. I'll give them credit. Like they've sneaky well built it. Like they put a lot of time into Bret Patriot, Shawn Taker, the tag, and this. Like they're 4 top matches, and then even the Gang Wars triple threat like has had build. So it's like a decently fleshed out card for them. Ross is in the ring, brings out Bret, asks for his thoughts on Sunday. Bret says the American fans mistake a short memory for a clear conscience. He can still remember April 21st when the fans turned their back on the greatest hero in wrestling history. He was the only hero that got dumped on worse than Richard Jewell. As Americans treat heroes like crap, but the hyenas aren't laughing anymore. He's a world champion. He's proved over and over again he's the best, but he doesn't get his deserved respect. And he has a surprise. He hasn't forgotten anything, and he looks forward to destroying the great American heroes. The fans can't preach USA to him. Patriot got a fluky win before, but victory is his on Sunday. His excellence lasts a lifetime. This is the moment he's waited for. When he gets to Louisville, he doesn't see the Patriot. He sees all the fans across the U.S., and it seems like he just wrestled a guy hiding his face like a hyena fan. It's time to quit being nice, and at Ground Zero, he'll set an example, and all the fans around the world will look away and not judge him because he's not going to be nice anymore. He'll beat Patriot so bad, he'll be the only guy in heaven in a wheelchair, and all the fans will suck it up and realize he's the excellence, and that Patriot will wish he never heard of the Hart Foundation. He can bring the red, white, and blue, but Bret will bring the pain and end his career. This is actually pretty good for Bret. It's had a lot of build, a lot of amping up. It does feel like Bret himself, though, is hanging on by a thread. He's trying to refire this U.S.-Canada storyline that feels very dated now suddenly out of nowhere. All the heat's on Shawn and Taker, right? Scoop of heat. It's all true. Like that feels like the big bad right now. So, but I do think I liked Bret making this a little bit more vicious, and the wheelchair line was good. Ending his career is good. Like he's coming for some real heat. So you could tell he's trying to amp up some stuff a little bit, even though the Canada US is kind of feeling like, all right, that was like a summer thing. We're kind of done now. We're past that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of my favorite Bret promos in a little bit. There was, that long time where he was kind of opening the show every week and they were saying their spiel. I like this better than a lot of those. I thought his lines were pretty good. I think the crowd was just at the point where they were kind of burned out that they didn't land as well as they could have early on, like with both the Richard Jewell line and the wheelchair in heaven, which was very odd. felt that line in particular felt a lot kind of like Drew McIntyre's. I prayed for this and it happened. That type of like biting, like jab. But obviously this one is not as memorable or didn't land as much. But overall, I thought this was a good final promo leading into the match at Ground Zero.
Yeah, I agree. He closed out well on the bill. Sonny's backstage. She's with Rick Rude and asks why he's here. Rude stares at her tits and says, I can think of a couple good reasons besides the obvious. He's here because he loves the action or maybe the physical attraction. Sonny asks if he'll be at Ground Zero, and Rude wants to know if that's personal or professional that she's asking. And she says, professionally. Rude says, well, you'll have to wait, but personally, I'll be in the penthouse suite at the airport Marriott. Sonny cuddles up and asks who he's working for, but he says he's a businessman. He sells insurance and protection, and anyone that can afford the premium can pick up a policy. Rude says everyone needs protection, including Sonny, and he may have what she needs. And Rude clears the starts to pull something out of his pocket. Looks like it's gonna be a condom. And then she says, "I'll get back to you." So Sonny's a little sexed up tonight here between Pillman and Rude. I think this was fine too. Like, I think we're hitting the wall though, and the Rude is the like hinting at being an insurance man. Like, I think coming out of the pay-per-view, we kind of need to know where he's at, what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit too much vagueness still with him. But I get not revealing it on these fucking shows, so that's fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, this was good, them flirting with each other. So
yeah, I mean, Sonny's
Rude,
in this stuff. Like, this is why I've said for a bit now, like, I actually think as a manager, she was maybe a little miscast in that she's actually good in these as an interviewer / announcer because she's just good on screen. She's charismatic and understands the business, and like that role for her is a good jack of all trades role.
Yeah, the PWO board was fantasy booking her in the role of Medusa as Rude's valet in '92 WCW instead of that because she was.
Yeah, I mean that could have been good. Her with DX, like, you know, and it kind of a little bit dig at Shawn too with the Sunny Days. So like that could have been pretty good actually. Yeah, her as their female.
Yeah.
Or even in the Hearts. Like, I know they don't want to go there. Bret probably didn't want anything to do with it, but like her with Pillman in the Hearts could have been good.
Yeah.
You want, like, I guess that we know where they're going. It wasn't going to be her, but something where like she joins him in the fight against Goldust and Terry, like could have been pretty good. All right, recaps of all the stuff from earlier. To the ring we go for pretty much our biggest match tonight. It's Undertaker taking on Hunter S. Helmsley. Hunter and China head out. Ross again confirms that Austin will be at Ground Zero. Taker has his full chili entrance. Comes in hot, smacks Hunter around the ring, holds him high in a choke, throws him to the floor. Hunter scampers around ringside. Taker stalks him. Hunter's in the ring first and catches Taker coming back in, but Taker turns it around. Locks in a choke slam, but Rick Rude is out. Taker throws Hunter to the floor, turns to attack Rude, but Hunter returns in and clobbers Taker from behind. Hunter kicks and slugs away. Ross wonders why Rude is here. Hunter gets a face breaker. Taker again rallies and comes firing back. Wipes him out with a lariat. Ross hypes Ground Zero as Taker hits an axe handle off the top. Follows with a leg drop for 2. Rude gets on the apron. Taker grabs him, but Shawn is in. Takes out Taker's leg. And we get our third DQ of the night in our third match. Rude, Shawn, and Hunter all kick the shit out of Taker. China keeps officials at bay. Taker eventually fights them off and they scatter. Taker chokestabs Jerry Briscoe and a security guard. Match was not much. The crowd was rocking for Taker. And the post-match was good as we see Shawn's crew coming together even more. Extra heat for Sunday. So in 2 1/4. And again, we didn't need to have all 3 of these matches. Okay. You could either made that opener to a tag. This could have been a promo with Hunter and Taker comes out and attacks him. Rude attacks him behind. And that would have been fine too. Or just have Taker pin Hunter or something. Who gives a shit? Like, Hunter in no way has been protected yet to this point. Like, he could easily have taken a loss here to Undertaker going into Ground Zero. So I get it. It's a forgotten show. It's probably like 12:15 in the morning at this point. So who gives a shit? But like, whatever. So why bother pinning him? But it's just like, all right, what are we doing? 3 in a row.
Yeah, I went 2.5.
We are not done with the DQs.
No. Yeah, I went 2.5. I thought it was a decent but pretty generic, like slasher film style Taker match where he basically stalks after Hunter. Hunter bumped pretty well. Highlight of the match for me is this really felt like the time where DX as a unit really comes together. Ross is starting to sound pretty dumb, like questioning why Rude's out there every time. It's like, well,
right. Why do you think he's out there? I guess
He's
he's trying
helped.
to hint
He's helped one side constantly, and
yeah. I guess what he's trying to hint at is probably like, did is Hunter just paying him, or is he with them?
Yeah. Well, either way, he's not. I mean, he's not helping the Undertaker. So,
right.
what he's
Taker's
doing.
not paying the premium.
Yeah. The post match was good. Choke slam to Gerald Briscoe. So, I mean, overall, I thought this was fine. But yeah, another crappy finish. So there you go.
All right, we got a break. We come back, and Sonny chases down Shawn Michaels. He's power walking to his car, and she says, "This could be the final nail in your coffin." But Shawn says, "I drew first blood, and I'll draw last blood, and if it bleeds, it can be destroyed." So that was a good punchline for Shawn as he's like hustling out of the building yet again to escape the Undertaker. So that's the final words we'll hear from him going to Sunday. To the ring we go as the Legion of Doom are taking on the Los Boricuas. We settle back down. The Boricuas come out with Jesus and Jose are in tag action. LOD are down. We get the hype for the tag title match. Hawk throws Jesus around to get going. We reset with tags on both sides. Jose lands some strikes. Animal pancakes him to break a chancery. Doc says LOD is long overdue to win these belts. Jose lands some punches. Animal comes back with a shoulder block. Power slam. Jesus saves. And we get a brawl. Out come the Godwins. Animal flies in there with a plancha. But that's another DQ. Savio and Miguel are in the ring. We get a brawl. The DOA come down. And kind of get the usual throwdown. Again, it's a squash until the DQ. Now 4 in a row. Like, we didn't need another fight. This did not, like, we're protecting Jesus and Jose. I can see if it was Savio at least because he's got the match, but like Jose Estrada can't lose to fucking LOD. Like, what are we fucking doing? And you're trying to set them up for Sunday. Like, what are we doing? Star and a quarter for me, but like, man, just did not need another fucking DQ.
Yeah, I went half a star pretty much exclusively on the Animals plancha to the outside on the Godwins. And yeah, I mean the brawl itself, it kind of, they sort of, I guess, merged both some of the tag title elements and this gang war stuff together, but it didn't work out for me. I mean, the Barricas and the DOA especially, like, they've been brawling constantly, and I do think they need the Nation in there to interject a little personality.
Without the Nation, they come down. They feel like low mid card. With the Nation, they feel like upper mid card. Without them, it's just like they feel like a bunch of jobbers.
Yeah, I think the Nation, like, now with Rocky and the members, like, that's the main thing. It's like with both DOA, like, you have Crush and Chains, but then like the Harris brothers are just kind of two generic bald head biker dudes, and
I think we could probably write off at the end the Taker alliance. They haven't mentioned that forever.
No, and the Barricas especially, like, they're very generic behind Savio. So
yeah, at least when DOA was tied to Taker, they felt a little bit up the card, but now like they haven't mentioned that in since before SummerSlam.
No, yeah, they're done with that. Yeah.
All right, we got a Patriot video package. Todd Pettengill narrated it, so this must be old because I don't think he's around anymore.
No, I think I think this may actually be his last thing or something he does for like a video package on the free for all for Ground Zero is like a last official thing. So
right, I was gonna say maybe like he was still doing some voiceover stuff, but
yeah,
this is all right. So this is it for Todd. This is Kenny Loggins once said. Doc narrates some clips of Ahmed Johnson hanging out with kids at Camp Cool J and says, yeah, probably for the 8th time in the last year, Ahmed Johnson is ready to be back. Okay. Ross says he's scheduled to come back in 3 weeks, and then he'll be scheduled back out in 4, I'm sure.
One thing I wanted to mention on the two things on the Patriot just before we go there. One, did you think it was weird that, I mean, he's just unmasked. Like, I know they hadn't hid like who he is. He's Del Wilkes, but they just kind of unmask him here. And then 2, they actually show all Japan footage.
Yeah.
So you see stuff from the tag league with like him in the ring versus Masawa and Akiyama and Kobashi. I found that interesting. I don't know. Like, I'm surprised like Baba allowed that. Like, I don't know. I guess they were all decent terms at this time.
Right, I'm sure they cleared it,
Yeah, I there wasn't any semblance of any other relationship beyond this that I know about. So it was an odd one-off.
Patriot or something.
Oh, okay.
Good friends.
It just seems odd. I mean, because he didn't really do that many tours of Japan, right? Like they had a million Gaijin come in. He kind of did this couple of tours and then he was gone. Even like compared to like Johnny Ace, not near as much. So it was just strange.
Maybe they didn't even tell him. Maybe they just fucking aired it. I figured.
I'd be surprised with that, but again, like I don't know why. Like I guess like because New Japan and WCW are still kind of leaked up. That's where it is. But it was jarring to see Masawa and Akiyama on my screen on this Raw. I'll say that.
How about Shamrock and Sincere? Because that's our next match. Ken Shamrock taking on Salvatore Sincere. We get some brief chain work. Shamrock takes him down. Doc hypes Ken as a future champion. Ross goes into some differences on MMA and wrestling. Sal lands a chop. Ken takes him down, works the leg. Sal tries to power through, but Ken goes into a Fujiwara. Sal escapes, rolls outside. Shamrock follows, slugs away. Back in the ring, Sal pepper strikes at Ken. Gets 200 Northern Lights as Ross hypes that Raw is the original Monday Night Wrestling broadcast and #1 worldwide. That kind of is a dig at WCW's bragging, which I'm guessing the worldwide is the difference, right? Nitro probably doesn't have the clearance that Raw has, and that's why worldwide the number one.
I don't. I'd be very surprised if that's even accurate, though. I mean, like,
well, I don't know if Nitro was airing in Europe, and the Raw might have been airing over there.
I mean, they're beating them by like millions in the U.S.
Yeah, I don't know.
Millions of people.
It's just a weird. He specifically saying worldwide made it sound like.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely like including like Europe.
Yeah,
I would say that's. I mean, that's a lot of people watching in Europe, which we know they have a base there, but I don't know if they had millions of people watching Raw in Europe.
Are they in India? Yeah, I don't know. I just he said it so pointedly. It sounds like a talking point they were trying to get over.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like they've lied before.
No, I know.
You know,
Shamrock roars back, knee lift, power slam Rana, finishes with an ankle lock. Just a showcase. Tough night of the office for Sincere. 1 star for me.
This is a dud. This is my least favorite match, I think, this year. Because I thought Sincere got way too much offense. I thought this made Ken look like a goof and that he's the ultimate fighter and is going way too 50-50 with this complete jobber. Sincere ends up getting a Northern Lights suplex. I know this was thrown out here like it was, the 4th match on a Saturday night main event, but you watch those Saturday night main events and the people they're trying to showcase, they're not getting attacked or whatever by the jobbers they're doing. So I thought this was really like malpractice and how they treated Shamrock to some degree. So
at least it wasn't a DQ.
Very bad.
We get an ad for the Stridex trading cards, highlight package of the light heavyweight division. We get some light heavyweight action. Scott Putski's here ahead of his big match on Sunday, taking on Steve Casey. Ross again hypes the return of Raw Monday. Ross and Doc talk about Christopher taking on Putski on the pay-per-view. Says Christopher's a fabric of the USWA and may actually get some hometown love in Louisville. Putski runs through a quick flurry of strikes, throws in a flying lariat for 2, gets a hip lock, atomic drop. Casey snaps off a spine buster, stomps away. Casey hits a running lariat in the corner, some jabs into a sleeper. Putski quickly comes out, counters a Rana to a power bomb. Putski sticks a backdrop, power slam, and finishes with a hammer. Putski showed some flashes, but just overall, he's clunky. There's like no connection there. You can see him thinking between moves and it slows him down. He's got some chance to be someone, but it's going to take a while. He's not close to being a guy that can carry this division outside of a couple of spots. So I went a 1.5. But Putski, like, they got to figure out who they want the guy to be. We saw someone recently in Jerry Lynn that could be it, but
yeah, he's already he actually made his debut with ECW on this night.
Yeah, so he's gone.
September 5th. So star for me, 2 old roided up clunky dudes facing each other stinks. I don't know why they, it's like, what had, yes, they're bringing up that Christopher's probably gonna get cheered because they're at Louisville, but then it's like, why put the match? It's like nobody put a gun to your head and said you had to do this match at the pay-per-view. So nobody's really clamoring.
They definitely know it's coming.
Yeah, they're saying it, so it's like they know it's coming. So if they have any hope for Putski, like it's almost like they're, putting him DOA by, putting him in this situation. So I don't know. Bad.
Sonny's with Paul Bearer.
They're jobbers too, like Casey, like these guys. I know he's like a Thatcher guy. So I guess they were like, bring up one of your dudes, but geez, like he didn't have anybody else. Like I would just take it anybody. Like this was just like it's very weird. Like some of the guys they have in this whole division, like they're all kind of these jacked up, short, clunky. It's just it's tough to describe. It almost feels like me with my wrestling figures, like with my Hasbro's. Like,
there's a fluidity for lightweight. Like, and they had some guys. Like, you got Taka still floating around. You had Lynn in here.
We just saw a good match last week. Like, it's like bring.
They had their shot with RVD. I don't know why they didn't try and make a play for him. It's like, there's guys around Storm. Like, why couldn't they just buy some of these guys from ECW? Like, couldn't bring an RVD and Lance Storm? Like,
it's very maddening what they've done with this division because they do have a depth problem, and there feels like there could be some very easy fixes. Even like, there was like guys like Reckless Youth out on the independent scene or Cheetah Kid, like at this time, like that certainly were more polished than Casey and Putski. So bring them in.
I mean, it's crazy. They don't really get this figured out for like 2 more years. So like, it's really not until 2000 that they like piece it together, So over 2 years, 2.5 years. Sonny's with Paul Bearer. It's been a minute since we've heard about any of this stuff. He asked him about Vader, and he says Vader better understand his allegiance is Paul Bearer, not to some country, and then hypes up the return of Kane, or arrival of Kane, I should say.
Yeah, just if I wasn't hating this last 30 minutes enough, we get fat ass Bear out here to mention Kane again for the first time in 3 weeks.
I'm guessing this was like a last minute, like, oh, he could be there Sunday.
Nobody cares. Nobody.
Well, I know. I'm just saying that's why they did it. That's why they did it, just to plant the seed for Sunday.
Again, if he is around, what are you waiting for? It's like he's like treating Kane like it's a Christmas gift that can only be opened on Christmas morning. Like, if you got this dude waiting to come, bring him out. Just shut the hell up about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up our night. Todd is still with us, runs down the WWF on tour graphic. We get Nashville, we get Ground Zero in Louisville, we get Raw in Cincy, then we're in Muncie, Philadelphia, Hartford, Landover for Raw, and then, of course, the big Madison Square Garden Raw on September 22nd. And it is finally time to wrap up our Friday night's main event journey as the Interrogator takes on Sonny Rogers and Jerry Fox. This is the dregs of this run with the Truth Commission. They do all their shtick. Interrogator smacks around Fox and Rogers. We get the final hype for Ground Zero. And that's it, just a squash. And we're seeing that they are focusing, it seems like, on Interrogator as the centerpiece of this group. So a quarter star, just a handicap squash to fill out the last couple of minutes here.
Yeah, quarter star with Commandant stopped out of here. I was ready to stop out of the video file. So,
you're not going to put these on the annual rewatch, like on your Christmas morning and everything else?
No. This is not going to be a yearly tradition.
Listen, as someone who watched a lot of the stuff over and over, like I don't remember a lot of these, so it tells you I probably
at the beginning of this show, because you watched this before me, at the beginning of the show, I was like, because I figured you would like the Austin segment better than me. So I was like, yeah, Justin, he was too tough on this. And then this last near hour, it was like
it torpedoes fast.
Like what a crawl to the finish line here.
It torpedoes real fast. Like, and God only knows whatever was sitting through. Like, this had to be late in the night. Like, this had to be like an old fucking challenge taping to sit through.
Yeah.
Rough. We get the Stridex triple action with Shamrock beating Sincere. We get a Ground Zero ad. Again, they haven't hyped this a ton, but maybe we just haven't seen it. Maybe we'll see it more now that we're off the cock fully. But like, that is 3 hours. Again, they haven't like focused on that a ton. That it's like a full show, and a free program if you get proof of purchase. And then Ross and Doc wrap up, and we get a video recap, which kind of was their thing here on these Friday Night events. They did video recaps at the end.
All the highlights from the show.
Again, I don't remember if this was 10 to midnight or 11 to 1, but I can't imagine being up at that point watching the fucking highlight package. So there you go. Friday's main event's a wrap. Match of the night, I went Bulldog and Dude.
Yeah.
For the moment, I did go Austin at home. I mean, there's just nothing else really to go for here.
I actually think I went quasi DX attack of Taker.
No, it was bad. But the Bret promo was okay too. I just went Austin made MVP. It was the most focused part of the show.
I didn't really have one, so because I didn't like the Austin stuff, I went Bret Hart.
Shots fired was the Ross brag on being number 1 worldwide. They can brag like others. Steve Casey is our debut. Did I look back? Did we have Jerry Fox before?
I looked at both of those guys. Jerry Fox was actually one of their favorites. And then we'd had what's his face once before, Sonny Rogers once before. Jerry Fox we'd actually had a couple times.
All right. So dropped angles I added Undertaker and DOA. It might have been dropped a while back, but we'll call it here because there's been zero mention. I think they're completely bifurcated at this point. And then I ended up going 3 out of 10 on this, which is one of my lowest scores. It's going to be the biggest gap I've had at all. I mean, 9 on Nitro and a 3 for Raw. It's going to be the biggest gap. This just sucked. I mean, it's probably the worst we've had since the South Africa disaster. It was better than that. I think I was like a 1.5 on that fucking fiasco. But again, it's hard to blame. It's like, okay, they're looking at what this is. They know viewership is going to be fucking low. Are you going to have real big stuff happen? But what they could have done is just had some great matches and just fill the time out, right? Like just give fucking Jerry Lynn and whoever 10 minutes or 12 minutes, like do a big tag with Owen and Bull, go 20. Like they could have easily filled out this time with in-ring action instead of what they're trying to do, or just make this a fucking preview show.
Yeah.
Do the first week as a live show, move a couple of these things over there and fill that out. And this week, make it like a 2-hour preview for Ground Zero. Have a couple replays of matches, maybe run back the Shawn Mankind from Raw. Like you can do a couple different things and just go a hard sell preview show for Ground Zero.
Yeah, I mean, with Austin hurt, Bret and Shawn not wrestling on the show, you just don't have much star power in ring. And yeah, I mean, overall, they wanted to use this as a hype show, and it did okay, I guess, for that. But as a show itself, completely skippable. I mean,
nothing happens.
Like
last week, at least a couple things happened, but this week, like nothing.
Yeah.
Like last week, at the Shawn promo,
really easy to blow through. Yeah.
Yep. So, all right. Well, 2 shows forgotten a time for a reason, for sure. We'll be back with proper Raw soon. Let's get to our combo awards. Match of the night. We're gonna go the Mongo.
Yep, that tag.
All right. Best moment. NWO parody. Do you want to go Nash for star of the night? Better commentary, obviously. Nitro.
Yeah.
Easy rating.
Doc and Ross was. I'm nostalgic for that pairing because I like them in Mid-South. They were okay. I mean, Doc.
They're better than Cornette.
Yeah. Doc at least was abreast of what was going on and brought back some stuff like Owen's insecurity to Shawn from 2 years before. But yeah.
And then ratings.
Yeah, just Nitro a slight lower than it was last week, but still like the second highest rating of their run. And then we don't really have the Friday night.
Sure if it broke a 1, I'd be fucking.
I guess worldwide is more.
I'm guessing like 700,000 probably watched that. I mean, again, I don't remember if it was 11 or 10, but I remember it being late in the night for sure. I can't imagine much.
Nitro went 4.8, so that's what we'll have to check next week when they're back head to head. So
yeah, USA did not do WWF any favors right now. No. So I'm curious if Ground Zero will suffer at all because of it. Because again, they built it pretty well. Taker Shawn is like a big match that they've never done. Yeah. Austin's first, kind of action since the neck injury, plus the title match, plus the Pillman. So it's like they put a lot of hype on it. All right. So real quick, I think we know, Chad, your worst match of the night was Ken Shamrock and Sal Sincere.
Yeah, that to me is honestly like a easy worst match of the year contender. It was just aggravating. Because even though it was a bad match to start, but very egregious for how you're booking Shamrock.
And if you're watching on YouTube with us still, you can see the Chad Campbell Memorial. That match sucked. All right, that'll do it for us.
Some heavy contenders on this one, like the Interrogator was spared. He went a lot of weeks. The Barukas. Yeah.
All right, Chad. We are off on our next rotation. We get some business stuff going on, so we'll be back in a month with a big one, though. It'll be Ground Zero. So kind of regroup, recap, and that'll be, as we're closing in on Mania this year, we'll be hitting Ground Zero. So then 6 weeks from today, we will have the go home to Fall Brawl and the wrap up from Ground Zero night after, back live on Raw. Check out everything in North South Connection. Subscribe on YouTube, our absolutely free Patreon, and all of our audio platforms as well. Smell the Napalm. We'll talk to you in a month with Ground Zero. And thanks to patrons, Grooney, Jenny, Everett, and who else was here? Someone else was here. I forget. There was someone else that popped in. I want to thank you all. Apologize for forgetting. But thank you. Everyone take care. Smell the Napalm. We're out.